Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, welcome to episode 396 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. The Skywalker apparently forgot how to crawl. So we're going to give him another opportunity here.
Good now.
That's why I won't call him Flywalker, because he ain't there yet. Maybe episode 400, if he does a bang-up job, I will call him the Flywalker as well. But Skywalker, we don't want to take any of your steam away. Let's give you an opportunity once again to do a proper introduction for such an illustrious show tonight, man. Go ahead and take it.
All right, we're going to try this again. Technology, again, it's great when it cooperates. Welcome, everybody, to episode 396 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. As you already heard, the Night Owl, Renee Martinez, is here. Alongside of me, of course, always is Sonny Money Mayo. And if you were a fan of the classic ECW, not the reinvented ECW, but the classic ECW, right here tonight on the Wrestle Talk Podcast, it's our honor and privilege to have later on this evening Harry Slash of Harry Slash and the Slash Tones. For those that aren't familiar, he was a man behind many of the musical selections that you're familiar with in the world of the classic ECW. And he's going to be joining us here later on in hour number 2. We're also going to have a lot of great topics in the high spot segment. We're going to have the shoot and shout, and we're going to have the FWWC later this evening. And I believe it's going to be right around 8 p.m. We're going to have the Friday night showcase, the Friday night challenge right here on the program. I mean, it's going to be a great show. I'm going to go ahead right now and welcome into the show, as you already know, the Night Owl is here. Sonny Money Mayo. Sonny, how are you doing out there in KC this evening?
Man, it has been raining cats and dogs all day in the KC area. I'm tired of rain. I'm glad it's about to be Memorial Day weekend. I'm hoping for nothing but sunshine from here on out. But I'm not complaining about the rain because tonight is about to be extreme. I am hyped that we're going to have Harry Slash on as a special guest on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. But there's so many other things going on inside the world of professional wrestling. I'm looking to cover them with you, Flywalker. And yes, you will always be Flywalker. I don't care what the Night Owl says. You will always be Flywalker in my book. So, but no, I'm happy it's Tuesday, baby. Let's get this thing going, man.
Well, I got to tell you right now, guys, it's going to be a great show here this evening. And you know what? Like I said, Harry Slash, a man that I'm really looking forward to as well, because the idea, like I said, growing up, ECW was the first real, I don't want to say underground promotion, but definitely it brought a different style, a different look to the world of professional wrestling. And having Harry Slash on the program, a man who really brought the soundtrack to ECW, is definitely going to be a great honor and privilege to have here on the show. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Sonny, you're complaining about it raining cats and dogs. I'm going to tell you right now, here in St. Louis, a little bit cloudy, but it was wonderful today. Great, nice 70, I think it was 74 degrees outside. It was wonderful. Looking forward to that great Memorial Day weekend coming up this coming Monday. Again, a lot of time to barbecue, spend time with friends, just have a great couple of days to celebrate our country and again, to pay respects to those who have served and paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country in Memorial Day. And Night Owl, I got to ask you, even though, again, the technology for the Skywalker is not always the greatest in the world.
Man, don't blame the technology, fool. You forgot to hit mute. Don't blame I'm not letting you get away with that.
Hey, well, I'm tell you right now.
I'm not letting you blame the technology this time, damn it. It ain't happening.
Thanks, Renee. Like I said, as you notice here, I'm kind of fitting the theme here tonight.
Wow, that's a clean
represent my
shirt,
Dynamo Pro Wrestling Star Wars related shirt. You got Sonny Money representing the notorious BIG.
Hey, Biggie just had his 50th birthday. Shout out to me. That's the GOAT as far as hip hop and rap. That's the GOAT rapper. That's just my personal opinion. I know the Empire State Building in New York City had the lights going for Biggie. Renee, you're a hip hop head just like I am. I hope you've seen Christopher Wallace Jr. do One More Chance at the Biggie. They had a concert celebrating his 50th birthday. Lil' Kim was on stage. Lil' C's was on stage. Biggie Jr. was up there doing all Biggie's verses. So shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to Biggie Smalls. I got goosebumps talking about it, baby. Hip hop, just like pro wrestling, runs through my heart, soul, and my veins, man. So rest in peace, Biggie Smalls. Rest in peace, Frank White. Happy 50th birthday to you, my guy.
Well, there's no question about it. And let me tell you this, man, hard-hitting action, not only the world of hip-hop, right? We're remembering legends, but in the world of professional wrestling has absolutely been on fire. We're going to be getting into high spots in just a couple of moments. But before we do, we have a tradition here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Everybody knows what that tradition is. And by the way, gentlemen, I am promptly uploading your high spots segment questions. So we're going to have quite a bit to talk about once we get to that point. For those that are now just tuning in, let me say thank you guys for your comments and your shares. We always got some merch to give away. So if you come on with a strong take, okay? Oh, here we go. William, hey, you know what? You want to talk wrestling, baby? You know what to do. Shoot one of us a link, and we will actually bring you on the show. You want to talk wrestling with the Night Owl, Sonny Money, and Skywalker, baby? This is the best place to do it. Just go ahead.
This is a wrestling podcast, William Dunn.
Yeah,
but
y'all
don't
were talking about the weather. Y'all were talking about hip hop.
But listen, it probably has to do with music too. But we've got Harry Slash coming on. To me, arguably the number one guy who's mixing music and wrestling in that late '90s era. I don't know anybody else. This ain't the rock and wrestling connection. I think we were all a little too young for that one. You know what I mean? This is ECW. This is extreme. So, music and wrestling goes together like peanut butter and jelly. Once somebody's theme music goes off, once that glass breaks for Stone Cold Steve Austin, I don't care what you're doing, you're standing up. So,
something, guys?
They go hand in hand.
I got to tell you right now, and I agree with the Night Owl 100%, and I agree with you, Sonny Money. Every week, we have a proud tradition here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. We have an opportunity to get this started in the right way. And Night Owl, you are the man behind the boards tonight. Go ahead and carry on our proud Wrestle Talk tradition.
Well, I absolutely will. And right after that, we're going to go ahead and hit on those sponsors. So make sure you guys are paying attention because we absolutely want you to support all of our wonderful sponsors. They're all local. They're all dear friends of ours. So what we're doing is we're supporting local, as you should, whether it be your local independent businesses or your local independent promotions. Now, I know the legendary Herb Simmons is in the house, so let me just say your local professional wrestling promotion, because the word independent, I think, does take a little bit away out of what these guys on the local level do. So we're going to give the man his due. This guy has forgotten more professional wrestling than I think I'll ever know. So we'll go ahead and take Herb Simmons' word for it. Now, with all that said, gentlemen, let's go ahead and get it going. Because every single edition of the Wrestle Talk podcast, whether it's 396, 296, 496, we do one thing. And this thing is ask everybody to respectfully remove their caps, place their hands over their hearts as we pay homage to the greatest country on God's green earth. That's America, damn it. Okay, enough of that. My ears can only take so much of you. Jeez Louise, I got to listen to Boston Celtics fans all freaking week. Now I got to listen to Roseanne. Jeez Louise, Papa Cheese. No, thank you. Well, Sonny Money Man, you know what to do, baby. It's about that time for us to hit on one of the most important elements of the Wrestle Talk podcast, and that is our wonderful sponsor, sir. Why don't you go ahead and bring us up to speed?
No, absolutely. If we didn't have these wonderful sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do this each and every week. So big shout out to Everything Combat. Big shout out to Kincaid Arcade, Esports Bar, Kansas City, Interstate 70 Sports Media, Royals Mills Transportation, Painter's Dream Productions, Rathburn Engraving, Me Fiesta KC Party Rentals, Noble Men's Barber Lounge, Kansas City, Missouri, KCMO. Do not forget to ask for Pete the Barber. And to me, one of my personal favorites, the FWWC, the Fantasy Worldwide Chapter. Hey, without these sponsors, we wouldn't be able to get on here every Tuesday and talk about the weather and talk about hip hop and have our mics muted and all that. So, big shout out to all of our sponsors. Thank you so much to all our sponsors. I honestly mean that. Sonny Money ain't saying that. Stephen Mayo, thank you so much, because if it wasn't for these sponsors, I wouldn't be able to talk about wrestling. I wouldn't be able to listen about wrestling with my close friends here. So one last time, thank you very, very much to all of our wonderful sponsors there.
And you know something, guys, I gotta tell you right now, we sit here and we look at it. And again, as a reminder, make sure to get one of those wonderful Wrestle Talk podcast mugs. The Night Owl showing that to you, making sure it keeps all those beverages cold each and every week here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. And again, Rathbun Engraving, responsible for all those great mugs. Make it a point to hit up one of your hosts. Make sure to hit up the Wrestle Talk podcast. You can get one of those for your own personal consumption. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, normally I joke about the idea of how many times we talk about how many cups of coffee Sonny's had before the show tonight. I think how many times can we talk about how many times Luke Roberts said his mic mute tonight? That might be right now we're 2, and it's good.
I'm going to take a shot every time you do it, bro. So by the end of this, I'm probably going to be dead.
We got to even it out. You know what I mean? Renee's got the adult beverages going, and I got the caffeine and the sugar going. So we just even it out, man. You know, it's all good in the hood.
And I got a microphone that works. And you know what else works? Every Tuesday night, we have what's called the High Spot segment, bringing you all the great news and views in the world of professional wrestling. And of course, the only way we're going to get it started is to go ahead and bring on that great track from our good friend DJ Money. So go ahead and hit that music for tonight's installment, the extended installment of the Wrestle Talk podcast High Spot segment.
Mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like lamb chops and dog shop. Coming through the screens of a laptop and non-stop like I wanna speak to the blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops. On the spark flash, look like a belly flop, now that's on. We up the scene while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk podcast, now they know we about to start the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the High Spot segment here tonight on episode 396. And guys, I got to tell you, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. A little bit extended edition here tonight. We got a lot to talk about. Also, if you want to add your comments, you want to add your questions. We had somebody earlier on, I believe it was
Michael Pam
bring it up there, wanting to be a part of tonight's High Spot segment.
Hey, send my man a link. Let me see. You know, I think I can help him with that. Mike, I'm getting ready to inbox you a link, buddy. If you want to come on, make sure you have a specific topic and make sure you bring that heat, baby, because we don't want no half-stepping, man. We talking about hip-hop earlier, the old ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Bring it if you're going to come with it, period.
Yeah.
Well, Night Owl, I'm going to tell you right now, you talk about bringing the heat. I think our first question tonight, and you already made reference to it here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Let's go ahead and pop up that first question. You're talking about bringing the heat. Many people are very well aware by now. Last week at Game Changer Wrestling, Joey Janela, many people said took it a little bit too far by setting his foot on fire to deliver a super kick. Did Joey Janela go too far? And I'm going to throw this right now. I'm going to start it off with you, Sonny Money. What are your thoughts about Joey Janela and his on-fire super kick?
We have Hogan and Andre at WrestleMania 3. We have Stone Cold stunning Shawn Michaels to win his first WWF championship. We have the climax of The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin main eventing 3 WrestleManias, and they're all about here. Joey Janela setting his foot on fires right here above them.
What are you talking about?
Listen, hold on. I'm just kidding. Calm down, Night Owl. We're on opposite sides of Kansas City. I can hear you yelling at me, not even through the StreamYard or the Facebook feed. I can hear you yelling at me from the opposite side of Kansas City. Listen, I'm a Joey Janela fan, not just because we both represent in Jersey, but I am a Joey Janela fan even before he was in AEW. Now, I've said this many times before on Wrestle Talk podcast. Everybody has different flavors of what they like in professional wrestling. There's obviously a crowd for that because people went to paid money to go in and see. There's obviously fans of what? Hold on,
stupid ICP fans. It's those idiotic ICP fans that are always trying to fight wrestlers. It's always those jerks like you, Sonny Money.
Let me know when I can get my point across here, Night
Well,
Owl.
when you start making sense, I will
that.
stop interrupting you. How about that?
Thank you so much. Now, again, as I was saying, I like certain creamers in my coffee. My wife likes certain creamers in her coffee. Renee likes certain wrestling. I like certain wrestling. Flywalker likes certain wrestling. It doesn't mean we all have to like the same wrestling. With that being said, there is a crowd. There is fans of deathmatch wrestling. There is fans of shenanigan wrestling. And that's exactly what it was. It was not meant to be serious. This wasn't Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock in the Lion's Den. This was not Bret Hart and Chris Benoit in a technical wrestling match. It was meant to pop the fans. And guess what? It was cheap heat. It popped the fans who enjoyed that type of shit just like I do. All right? Was it over the top? Yeah. Was he a fucking dumbass for doing it because he could have caught his whole leg on fire? Absolutely he was. But I still laughed. I still thought it was unique. I don't see anybody set their foot on fire and super kick somebody on SmackDown every week. So, hey, my cup of tea. Did it go too far? Yeah, probably. But I hope he does it again. Go ahead, Night Owl. What's your thoughts on this? And we'll come back to you there, Flywalker. But Night Owl, you're so against this. Go ahead. What do you got to say?
Let me tell you something, okay? I'm all for gimmick wrestling, okay? I love the fun and games. I love the Danhausens. I love the Orange Cassidys. You know where I draw the line? I'm going to take you back to last week's episode of the Wrestle Talk podcast when we were discussing whether or not Ric Flair should come back into the ring. You know where I draw the line, Sonny Money? Where it's no longer safe. It is not safe to wrestle against Joey Janela, okay? If you decide to get in the ring with him, you know that there's a high probability that you or him or somebody in between is going to get hurt. I don't mind the comedy wrestling. I don't even mind the spot fest because I think there's room for it, and I understand the flavors of ice cream. But if you're gonna try to put thumbtacks in my ice cream, I don't want it. You know why? Because I'm gonna choke. It's a safety hazard, Sonny Mayo. Joey Janela should be barred from professional wrestling because he is a liability to the people he works for, to the people he faces, and especially to himself, right? This man is no better than Cheddar Bob, who shot himself in the leg, okay? Joey Janela is a bum. He doesn't take his physical attributes seriously. You can see it by his look. He doesn't even make an effort to look professional. He's the kind of guy that walks in the locker room and you're like, damn, cuz, like, you really live like that? That's Joey Janela, bro. It's a bad look professional wrestling, and these are the exact kind of guys that your boy Jimmy Cornette is constantly talking about. He calls
it outlaw mud shit wrestling, or outlaw mud show.
This is even worse than that. This is mud show juggalo bullshit is what this is. It's terrible for the sport. It ruins the professionalism, and I'm okay. Like I said, GCW is a different animal, but the dude literally set himself on fire. How much of an idiot do you have to do that? and almost really end your own career. I mean, that's the kind of stuff this guy has to do to stay relevant. You know why? Because he's not a good wrestler inside the squared circle. I hate to break it to you. He's just
that's
not.
fine.
He's
that's
terrible.
fine.
He's
no,
terrible.
that's fine.
He's unsafe.
That's fine. But guess what, Renee?
It's not
Deathmatch wrestling still draws money. At the end of the day, ICP still draws thousands and thousands and thousands of people at their annual Juggalo Fest each and every year. So besides me and you bickering like two old men right now about Joey Janela, who to me is one of the fucking greats in underground deathmatch wrestling, Flywalker, what's your thoughts on this, my friend?
Okay, things I've gotten in the last 5 minutes, gentlemen. Number one, Renee does not want thumbtacks in his ice cream. Number two, all of a sudden now, Sonny Money is representing Jersey and not representing Philly.
Hold on.
Hey, you said you had it on tape here.
Got him. Got him.
Number three.
Wow.
Hold on. Number three.
Wait a second. We got one more. Wait. We got one more.
Shots fired.
Number three. Sonny Money has had more cups of coffee than Luke Roberts has had muted microphones. And I'm going to tell you right now, here's my take. Number one, I have seen in 35 years in the wonderful world of professional wrestling, I have had the opportunity to be involved in 2 matches where fire has been involved. I remember both men lighting their hands on fire and throwing punches. And I get it. I understand what's going on. Now, do I agree with Joey Janela lighting his foot on fire? No. The risk is there. It reminds me a lot, talking about ECW here tonight on the program, about when Terry Funk got lit on fire when the gas-soaked rag came off the chair and lit him on fire. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to put it this way. Do I see a reason why? Yeah. Do I think he took it a little bit too far? Yeah, I do. And when we look at it right now, I just got to be honest with you. Joey Janela, I really think, had the professional wrestling world in the palm of his hand. He was in AEW. He had a lot of good things. He was the bad boy. He still is the bad boy. But right now, I got to tell you, this to me just is a little bit too much.
It's a bad look for the sport. I mean, it really is. I don't care how you want to slice it there, Mayo. It's a bad look for the sport.
So were we saying this about Mick Foley when he was doing this shit in '95 in Japan? Would you say Mick Foley's not someone safe to get in the ring with when he's in there with fire and thumbtacks and barbed wire and all that shit, but Vince put the title on him?
Well, if you look at it this way, though, and again, I know where you're going with this, Sonny Money. It's the idea of where when you sit there and look at it, are you looking at it from the idea of the world of Japanese wrestling, or are you looking at it from the world of the WWE? Are you looking at it where Mick Foley's regularly competing in fire and thumbtacks and barbed wire, or are you looking at a couple of instances? To me, I look at it from the perspective of where anytime the fire became involved, it was properly handled and taken care of.
Deathmatch wrestling fans are not showing up to an event to see two guys with no shirts in tights lock up and do arm bars and do hip tosses and tell a story in the ring. I'm there to see somebody get hit in the head with a weed whacker, fall off a ladder backwards on their grandma's chair, and fucking elbow drop a Pepsi can from 30 fucking feet high. That's what deathmatch wrestling is. He did exactly what everybody wanted him to do in that building. It wasn't an instance where people got up and left because they were like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot for doing that. No, that's what they wanted. That's what he does. That's what Joey Janela does. There's an audience for it. I'm telling you, fellas, there's an audience for it. So, again, not to come back on at me. Yeah, I think it was a little bit too far because he could have caught his whole goddamn leg on fire. But I'm not surprised with him doing it.
I got to look at it this way, gentlemen. It's not deathmatch wrestling. It's game changer wrestling.
And I'll have the last word on this one. I guess all I want to say is I don't want there to be a misunderstanding about whether or not I appreciate or respect hardcore wrestling. I mean, one of my favorite guests of all time is Madman Pondo.
Right.
Okay? But I think even Pondo would tell you he's not doing deathmatch wrestling right. When you're hurting yourself, and that's your gimmick, Your gimmick is botching and hurting yourself. I mean, just go back and look at his handful of appearances at AEW. Every single match that he had, he tripped over something. He caused somebody to potentially almost hurt themselves. I'm okay when you've got a true professional, an artist, an architect of that type of match, a Mick Foley, a Madman Pondo, those guys, Necro Butcher and guys of that nature that know how to pull it off. For me, I may even get some heat in the Midwest for this. When I see Joey Janela, it makes me nervous, just like when I'm watching Bones wrestle. Somebody's going to get hurt when this man is in the ring, Sonny. That's where you draw the line. Death match is fine. Death match is fine. But what are you doing up there, buddy? You shouldn't be up on the third row. That's not what you do. Joey Janela, you have to light yourself on fire to stay relevant. He can't even have a good hardcore death match without doing something idiotic to put him on the front page of some wrestling podcast or to make it our very first high spots question here tonight. Can the man actually do something in the ring that doesn't involve a botch or him literally lighting himself on fire to get a little notoriety? I think the survey is in, gentlemen, and I don't think he's capable.
Well, Night Owl, I'm going to have one last little thing here. And again, I think it's going to put it all into perspective here when it talks about Joey Janela. I go back to a matchup, lights out, AEW. Jon Moxley, Joey Janela. To me, I look at that one there, when you talk about death match wrestling, you talk about no holds barred wrestling. I get it. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I still think he was one of the craziest wrestlers I've ever seen to take thumbtacks into the bottom of his bare foot. That's painful in itself. The only thing I think that would be just as close be stepping on Legos. And trust me, in my career, I've seen that happen too.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, Joey Janela, especially with this situation in Game Changer Wrestling, he has his own niche. He has people that like that kind of stuff. He has people that don't like that kind of stuff. We're going to agree to disagree here, but that's why the Wrestle Talk podcast is such a great program. We can respectfully talk about this particular topic. And
by the way, even Joey Janela's girlfriend does death matches better than Joey Janela. You want some evidence? Go back about 2 months, and it was Ty Conti and Anna Jay, okay, versus the Bunny and Penelope Ford. That death match is better than anything Joey Janela has done in his entire career. And that's my final word on it. You haven't seen the match. Don't nod your head. You didn't even watch the match, Mayo. You see what I'm saying? This is why you and I can't get on the same page, because you jump to conclusions. You haven't even seen the match. You want to go watch the match and then come back and talk to me next week and then say, hey, you know what? You're absolutely off base here. That's fine. I'll accept that. But you're nodding your head and you haven't even seen the match.
I didn't even say a word, and you're getting all hyped.
I can see it.
You sure you didn't have some coffee there, Night Owl? I mean, whoa,
I need a coffee.
I could tell. All right, fellas, let's get off this Joey Janela shit. We all have differences of opinion. What else we got rolling in the high spot segment tonight? Because there's a lot of shit going on in the world of professional wrestling, not just Janela shit. But we got a lot of things going on. There's a lot of topics. What else we got brewing?
You guys ready for the next one?
Let's get it rolling here, guys. Let's get the machine going here and see what it is.
Next question. Ooh. I'll go ahead and read this one off for you guys, and we'll let you go first on this one, Skywalker. How significant, if any, is the bloodline unifying all the top titles? I would consider the 2 Universal Championships, right? The Universal and the WWE, and the tag belts, probably the top 3 belts in the company, just me personally speaking. Now they are all a part of one faction, and that is the bloodline. Your guys' thoughts. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it significant? Does this make the Usos the greatest tag team of all time? I don't know. An argument to be made. I want to know what you guys think. Skywalker, you're up first, baby.
All right, here we go. And I'm going to put this here. And again, William making it a point to make a comment up here. But again, before we get going, can we throw that comment that William just put up here?
Yeah,
again,
absolutely.
That's not reflective of me, but I think it's definitely something that needs to be brought up here. Now, some people may or may not like the bloodline. I'm going to tell you right now, for years, people have been saying this Raw, SmackDown, individual brand thing. No. I'm going to tell you right now, for me personally, I'm one of those where I feel that a championship needs to have prestige. And when you have 14, 15 championships floating around a promotion, something about the championship loses a little bit of luster. And I'm going to tell you right now, do I feel, and here's my take, do I feel Roman Reigns winning the WWE and Universal Championship and combining the 2 of them, that is an outstanding feat. the winner take all, I get it. But to me, I look at it from the Usos. I think the Usos is well overdue. I think it's one of those where these two gentlemen, they have that opportunity to win the championship, but I don't think it makes them the greatest tag team in WWE history.
Now, remember, that was not specifically the question, because I felt like maybe it's a little premature. So let's put that up again. And the question is, I'll give you an opportunity to kind of rephrase if you want to, Skywalker. How significant? I was saying, people are starting to make the argument. I think WWE's putting it out there. This is the greatest tag team. It's a thing of the now. So, I mean, it's to be expected. They want the now to seem more important than anything in the past.
Right.
It's just, it's marketing 101. I understand it. But so that's why I rephrased the question. How significant is it? Would you rank this as one of the more monumental moments in tag team wrestling history? Or is it not even ranking there for you guys? I'm curious.
All right, here we go. I'm going to put it this way. 1 having absolutely no significance. 10 being the absolute most important thing. I'm going to give it about a 6.
A 6
and
out
the
of 10.
reason why is because the WWE, and we've all talked about it, you can go back to WrestleTalkPodcast.com and go back to all these episodes and talk about how the WWE needs change. And to me, it's one of those where this is significant because it's going to start making that change that a lot of people think that the WWE needs. It's going to give them that chance to possibly make new strides forward. And I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes down to it, is it important? Yes. Is it the biggest thing that's ever happened in the history of the WWE? No. But I will tell you this. To me, it is significant because it's finally giving an opportunity to move the WWE potentially in a new direction.
Sunny Money?
All right, let's start it off this way. I'm gonna go ahead and take Flywalker's significant chart there, 10 being the most and 1 being.
I did best out of 5 super kicks. I thought that was our rating.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. You're absolutely. You're right, Night Owl. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Let's go back.
I just remember
3 super kicks. 3.
I just remember. 3.
So 3 super kicks from Flywalker. I'm giving it a 1 super kick. All right, that's 1 super kick. Now listen.
Wait,
I am a fan of the Bloodline.
My man said 1. I think we got a 0 up here too, by the way.
I'm giving it 1. Just on the basis of how significant it is, it's just getting a 1. Now, do I think Bloodline is one of the top 5 factions in WWE history? That's arguable. Definitely top 10. Arguable for top 5, okay? Because WWE's been around for a long time. There's been a lot of factions. There's been a lot of stables. I'm not going to name all of them off, okay? Me personally, though, I think the McMahon-Helmsley era faction that they had in 99, 2000, I think that was way bigger and more significant than what Bloodline is doing right now. Now, you want to take it off individual members, in which I know you didn't really want to do that, Night Owl, but Roman Reigns, what he's doing as champion alone, that is monumental. That is significant, okay? What the Usos are doing as a tag team, no thanks. Look, I'm not that much of an Uso fan when they were baby faces, when they were heels. I can't get with the Usos. I don't know what it is. That's just me personally. They should nowhere even be talking about greatest tag team ever. WWE.com should not even be trying to market that right now. Give me another 5, 6, 7 year
good run
of the.
If I may, so let's get into the weeds here a little bit. So, and it's awesome that we have the time to do this today, by the way, because we'd be getting into our first hour guest. Shout out for those who saw that we had Hard Luck Hal Rogers scheduled. Literally on his way home, had an issue on the road, sitting on the side of the road, waiting for a tow truck right now.
Had some hard luck. He had some hard luck. We're going
to talk some new breed and stuff like that, but we'll save it for, hard luck. Yeah, like
hard luck. Hard luck.
Okay. So how do you define successful in the world of pro wrestling? Let's go over the prerequisites of being considered successful, right? So draw, right? Yep. Do people go there to see you? Yep. Merchandise sales. Are people buying your shit? Okay. Yep. Pop. Are you getting a reaction from the crowd, whether it's a boo or a cheer? Right.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Authenticity. Are you original? Is there anybody? There's been anybody else like you? Which is for me why I can't put the Young Bucks. I'm getting to number 5. That's why I can't put the Young Bucks up there because they're Hardy ripoffs, kind of. You know what I'm saying? And what did you have as number 5, Sonny?
Ratings. And
Ratings. So draw, right? That was the same as number 1. Draw, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I would consider draw of
longevity.
I'm considering longevity is a good one, and that's why I said with the Usos, give me another 5 or 6 year run with them. Okay. Go ahead, Night Owl.
So when you talk about the greatest tag teams of all time, you're talking about Rock and Roll Express, right? You're talking about New Age Outlaws. You're talking about
Road Warriors.
Yeah,
I'm talking Road Warriors. I'm talking Steiners. And I think this is a general.
Okay, of all those guys, right? Other than Morton and his partner, who of those teams had more than a successful 10-year run? All right, so Rock and Roll Express still going.
Yep.
Who aside from them, including the New Age Outlaws and some of these other very, very notable tag teams, had more than a 10-year run?
Hardy's
at the highest level, right?
Dudley's.
Okay, so and here's the argument that I'm trying to make. I'm not necessarily saying that they belong in number 1. I think they check off most of those boxes, or pretty much check them all off. They just haven't done it as well as those other teams because literally they've been on TV for 10 years. Yep. So they've got the longevity, their box office, right? Jay proved that he can run a singles angle. He did it with Roman, and it was absolutely fantastic. They sell hella merch. They're original. They've got the legacy, right? So I think they're Sonny's right. I think if you ended their career right now, they would be in the conversation as one of the best tag teams of all time, not top 5. You give them another 5 years with this momentum, I think they're undeniable. Yeah. I think they're absolutely undeniable. Yeah. So, Sonny, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yep. Now, but to wrap it all around and do me a question there, Night Owl. Throw that question back up there.
Gotcha.
How significant as a stable? Because you got to count them all. You got to count it with Roman. You got to count it with Paul Heyman. And we've even had the discussion. We've even had the discussion amongst ourselves of maybe even adding a couple members to that group. But how significant is the Bloodline unifying all the titles? So as a group, unifying all the titles, to me, I mean, again, I'm still sticking with that one super kick because I've seen this storyline before. You know what I mean? I've seen this. So it's nothing new. They're ripping a page out of books that's already been read. So go ahead, Flywalker. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you just added one little piece of the puzzle that I totally left out of the picture, and that was Paul Heyman. I'm going to tell you right now, Paul Heyman, for me, takes it from 3 to 3.5. And here's the reason why. And again, now I want to take a minute here. You had 5 great points. I want to take just a minute here. Let's go over these again because I have my own input here to kind of look at this.
Draw
to me, and I'm just going to put it this way. Roman, yes. Usos, no.
Okay. Longevity,
both. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay. Merch sales.
That's kind of tricky for me because you're looking at them all together. Roman is selling a great amount of merchandise.
But the Bloodline has all of them. So they get just as much credit as Roman for that.
I don't know. Is that
they're all on there
collective or is that just from Roman?
Well, Roman's got his own shirt.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Okay. And then we had originality.
I can kind of
Name besides really, I mean, this is like the first Samoan stable that's been pushed main event wise that I can ever really think of. Yes, The Rock has been pushed. Yes,
and Alpha and Sika were never main eventers.
No, they weren't main eventers. And I would rate Alpha and Sika more of a significant tag team than I would the Usos.
No, what are you talking about? No.
Sonny,
these guys have been on TV for 10 years. Alpha and Sika were on TV. I mean, come on, bro. You can't do that.
Renee,
crossing the line.
Flywalkers.
I think I agree with Sonny Money, I think, on that one.
Yeah, dog. Listen,
what did they do? Did they ever even win the tag belts even once?
It don't matter, dog.
Of course it matters.
It don't matter, dog. It was a different time in the 70s, bro. Alpha and Sika, that was like household names when it came to tag team wrestling right there, all right? This is before Road Warriors, Steiners, TV, and Monday. Before all of that, bro. Alpha and Sika, that's like when people thought wrestling was a shoot. They were scared of them, bro. They were. Look, I got
what I'm
people
saying is,
agreeing
were
with me
people
out there.
lining up to go see Alpha and Sika wrestle? Is that why people were buying tickets?
It wasn't
to the show?
about that then, though, Night Owl. You're not seeing the point, my guy.
Tickets to the show? What are you talking about?
It ain't about that then. That's when you put on the marquee wrestling. You didn't put Hulk Hogan. The only person on the marquee back then was Bruno Sammartino. That was it. You didn't put Bob Backlund and Ken Patera and Alpha and Sika. They came there to see a wrestling show, and they were some of the most feared competitors on that wrestling show, whatever show that was, Madison Square Garden, Jersey, wherever. Alpha and Sika, dog, I'm telling you. And if it wasn't for them, we would be sitting here today talking about a Yokozuna or a Rikishi or an Uso, or we wouldn't be talking about. Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't be talking about none of them, bro. We'd be talking about Bob Backlund and Crash Holly or some shit. So,
bro, listen, hey, I'm with you, but and I'm all good on arcing to the past. But just because Grandmaster Flash was the first doesn't mean he was better than Wu-Tang. So don't try to hit me with all this. Oh, well, they were first and they set the groundwork and blah blah blah. That doesn't mean just because they did it first doesn't mean they did it better. We're talking about who did it better. Not just because they happen to be born 30 years ahead does that make them more significant. The Usos have traveled the world. They've taken their culture to every single corner of this planet. Alpha and Sika are not recognizable throughout the world. Hulk Hogan is. Some of those guys from that same era are. They are not. People around the world who associate with WWE know who the Usos are. Now, does it have a lot to do with reach? Absolutely. But I don't think they're getting enough credit here, guys. I'm not even trying to put them in my top 5. But I'm saying is to say that Alpha and Sika are more significant than what the Usos have done over the last 10 years, their rivalry with the New Day. I mean, come on, guys. You guys are selling this thing short, in my opinion.
Well, I got to look at it this way, Night Owl. First of all, using a little bit of the ECW, 3-time WWF Tag Team Champions. And I agree with Sonny Money in the idea.
You mean when it was WWF?
No. WWF. Yeah. You look at their matches with the wrestlers, like with Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson, being managed by Captain Lou. Right then and there, Captain Lou Albano was a manager. When you were a tag team, Captain Lou Albano was the guy. When I believe it was 17 or 18 tag team champions. You've got to look at it that way. Now, I don't disagree with you in saying that the Usos and the New Day have made a huge staple. But when it comes down to it, I go back from the point of view here, and I agree with what's being put up here on the screen as well. But when it comes down to it, I kind of agree with Sonny Money in the idea of where when you look at people from the beginnings of the bloodline, not talking about Roman Reigns and the Usos, and again, they are great in-ring competitors. We talk about people like High Chief Peter Maivia and the Wild Samoans, among others. It just continues down that lineage of professional wrestling. And I got to tell you, and I'm hopefully going to put a nice little bow on this. Is it significant? Yes. But when you look at it from all 3 perspectives here, we have significance for different reasons. And that's just like the wrestling world is today.
Okay, fair enough. And I stand corrected. Fair enough. 3-time WWF World Tag Team Champions back when only like a 16th of the country could watch it on TV. But yes, they made much more of an impact in the pro wrestling world than the Usos, guys. I'm positive. Yes, absolutely.
2007 Hall of Famers also.
Oh, that's fine. So, and the Usos aren't going to be first ballot Hall of Famers? Because it took those guys about 25 years to get in. Usos are getting in first ballot. Any arguments?
I'm going to look at it this way.
They're getting in first ballot. Now, then again, they put
wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure everything's good over here in ECW. Go back on that one more time, Night Owl. You said Usos first ballot Hall of Famers. Did I hear that correctly?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I wholeheartely disagree with you.
Okay, how many tag team championships have they won? Do you know?
Hold on. I'm gonna do research here real quick, guys.
How many pay-per-view main events have they been in? Do you know? It's well over half a dozen, right? And they've won the championships 10 times. I think they're close to 10 at this point. Skywalker?
I'm not saying that they do not belong in the Hall of Fame, but they are not first ballot, my friend. They're not.
They will be by the time their career's over.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Right. But in 2022, if God forbid they both said, okay, this is it, we're done. Nah, dog. I mean, now again, it is WWE. They put Coco Beware in the fucking Hall of Fame, so who knows what kind of wild shit they'll do. no diss on Coco because I was a Coco fan, but come on, bro. Yeah, no, we ain't talking no first ballot, not right now. So,
all right, real quick, gentlemen. The research department's already done their work, and again, kudos to the research department. Wild Samoans 3-time, Usos 8-time,
and they're in their prime. That's all I gotta say.
All right.
Let's tell you what. Now, being a champion 1,000 times doesn't make you the best, in my opinion, either. But you know what it does say to me, guys? It says to me that the top company in the world values them enough to put them at the top of the card over and over and over. And you know what that means? In the 10 years that they've been active, they've been at the top for at least this long every single year, 8 out of 10 years. That says something. And the fact that Jay was able to help carry a main event program speaks to their individual talent. I mean, it's hard to separate from your tag team partner, who's also your twin brother, and stay relevant for a year. And that's exactly what Jey Uso did. We can't discount that either. That goes as a part of their legacy.
Real quick and simple here, guys, just to give you a little bit more on the facts and figures. Usos, 13 years. Wild Samoans, 27 years. Just leaving it at that.
Dude, if the Usos wrestle for 27 years, they're going to be the greatest tag team of all time.
That's another
27 years.
That's another discussion for another day, Night Out.
Yeah.
Next topic, or what's up? You guys ready?
Let's go ahead and let's hold on. Let me get the drum roll going here.
This is about to get some people's feelings going right here. You guys
Number
ready?
3, third topic.
2,
Let's see what it is.
1.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to talk about Phil, baby.
I got to say this. Sonny Money, you have been chomping at the bit for this one, buddy.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to let you run with this one.
Thank you so much, Flywalker. I appreciate that. Now, CM Punk's AEW debut, I was sitting right next to that guy right there in this basement that I'm in right now, watching this TV over here. My man had his phone out. He was tweeting about it, Facebooking about it. So was I. I had my freaking CM Punk, my wrist taped up and all that. I was ready, all right? What I thought CM Punk was going to bring to AEW was, I thought he was going to be what he was in WWE. He made Monday Night Raw a show that we had to tune into each and every week when the rest of the Raw stable was arguably at the time pretty stale. All right. He took that pipe bomb. He made the ratings go up. That whole summer of Punk and the summer before that, his almost shoot promos against Triple H and McMahon and all that. He made WWE very watchable at the time. Okay. When he came into AEW, I think Tony Khan thought he was getting that Punk. I thought a lot of wrestling fans were going to get that CM Punk. Instead, the CM Punk we got was, hey, guys, I'm back. I'm very humble for all of you. Thank you so much. Let's go do wrestling. Instead of being that guy who's just like, hey, fuck you. You know what I mean? Now, my hopes got high that we were going to get that CM Punk when he went into this program with MJF. And we somewhat did, but that was more MJF holding up that program than it was CM Punk. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So overall, and before I pass it to you guys here, I think that the brass there in AEW thought they were going to be getting basically the Hulk Hogan of this generation's, wrestling fans, and that he was really going to turn that tide for AEW along with other people. But I think they really put a lot of eggs in that CM Punk basket, and really it's just been kind of at best.
Flywalker, I want you to go next. I want Flywalker to go next, but I want to preface this by quoting Eric Bischoff, and I think this will be the first time I've ever done that here on the show. Eric Bischoff calls CM Punk by far the biggest financial flop in pro wrestling history based on what they're paying this man. They're paying him NBA numbers, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, dog.
That's big dollars. Skywalker, knowing what the great Eric Bischoff, I don't care what y'all say, the man is legendary in his own right. Okay?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on it? I got to know.
Well, first of all, I'm going to go ahead here. Bear with me just a minute.
83 weeks, baby.
Give you an idea. Plug right here. Controversy creates cash. Here's my view, and I'm looking at CM Punk across the board. IWA Mid-South. Goes in there, causes his chaos, brings attention to IWA Mid-South, Ring of Honor, the Summer of Punk. Heads on to the WWE. Pipe bomb. I'm going to tell you right now, here's my view. To me, Hangman Adam Page versus CM Punk at Double or Nothing. CM Punk has to deliver. Did he deliver with MJF? Yes. Did he hold his own? Yes. But I do agree with you, Night Owl, in the idea of where if CM Punk cannot deliver with Hangman Adam Page at Double or Nothing, then I would say, and this is going to probably ruffle a little bit of feathers here, if he can't deliver at memorable performance with Hangman Adam Page, regardless of all the other things that have been out there, you've almost got to put it at we're getting, as MJF said, it's almost like we're getting PG Punk.
Ooh,
Hey.
ooh. Looks like WD, my guy here, absolutely in full support of Sonny Mayo. Let's go over a couple of these comments real quick before we continue on. I have something to say. You should bring on, yeah, we would love to have Gina on, man. Send us the contact information.
Yep.
Question here. What kind of question is that? CM Punk has not been disappointing. Okay, so on that note, let me just say that my thoughts are based on my initial expectations. And my initial expectations were that CM Punk was going to have a Brock Lesnar-esque presence in the company.
Yep.
Not the recent Brock, not Goro Brock. I'm talking about the Brock that we all despised because he would become champion and disappear for months at a time. So initially, when we had this conversation on the WTP, somewhere around episode 350, 360, we talked about what were our expectations. And my expectations were that he was going to come and do big spots and help put people over, but then he'd be gone and be back.
Yep.
CM Punk has been on the show almost every single week since he appeared. So going back to the original question, and it was a damn good question, has CM Punk's AEW something been disappointing so far? You guys get it, right? His appearance, his presence. I think it has been better than expected because my expectations for CM Punk were low. I figured that he was old. He didn't look that great in the MMA ring. His name still meant something, but I had no idea what we were going to get from the guy in the ring. And so far, he has wrestled about as good as a 43-year-old can wrestle. Okay? He's been present every single week, and he's had some pretty damn good programs. Now, has he stolen the show? No. I think his opponents have stolen the show, but isn't that why you bring a CM Punk in to help elevate some of these guys, the Darby Allins, the MJF? So based on my personal expectations, I think that CM Punk has absolutely thrived in AEW because, again, when he showed up, I didn't expect him to be a week-in, week-out worker, and for that reason, I've got to say that I'm going to give CM Punk's return to AEW and his presence ever since 4 out of 5 super kicks. I got to do it because, again, my expectations were low going in.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Hold on, Sonny. I want to go ahead and throw this out here. And you brought up the super kick rating. I'm going to tell you right now. And now you brought up a really good point.
Yep.
For 43 years old, and he himself has said there's plenty in the tank. But then again, you got to look at it, plenty in the tank from being gone for 7 years. I mean, that's what you got to look at it. I mean, again.
And by the way, why come back? You're rich. You married AJ Lee, and you want to come back and wrestle big sweaty dudes? Well, it's addiction, right? It's addiction.
Well, here's the idea. Real simple. To me, I got to look at it this way. And I'm going to go back with the number of choice. I'm going to go 3.5 super kicks.
Okay. Sonny, how would you rate his return?
I'm going to give it 2 super kicks, and that's tough. I would like to give it 3, but I'm going to give it 2. Renee, Night Owl, you made some good points, man.
Thanks, bro.
you know, they brought CM Punk in, and it's helping get these other talent over. But guys like myself, like we had a half a steak on the table with CM Punk in WWE, and he got up and walked away from the table. Some of that steak is still there. We expected a lightning rod with CM Punk. I expected some pipe bombs with CM Punk, and it's just I think AJ clipped his nuts the 7 years he's been off. I don't know what happened. Like he got that money, he got that millionaire McMahon money, bro, and it's just he's just like
Going through
ice cream. Ice cream bars and cheap pops and MJF sucks and I'm gonna do some wrestling over here. You know what I mean? Like I wanted that. I wanted that Ring of Honor Punk. I wanted that shoot interview, shoot promo. Don't give a shit in your face. Push the envelope Punk. And it's just kind of like we don't have that. So yeah, two out of 5 super kicks, man.
Well, I got to tell you right now, guys, we've had some great discussion here. And I got to tell you right now, in just a few minutes, we're going to have the Friday Night Challenge right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. It's going to be coming up here in just a couple minutes. But, guys, I mean, we had a lot of great wrestling stuff to talk about here. We've had some great discussion here. Also, thank you to all of our great viewers who've been putting out some questions in the comments. We've heard things like Flash Flanagan, Warhorse making a return to the show. Gina, again, if you have ideas, you have people that can come on the program, please make it a point. Send us information. As you know, we bring the best in local, national, and international wrestling here onto the Wrestle Talk podcast. And again, we're only 4 episodes away from episode 400 here at the Wrestle Talk podcast. You know something, guys? I think right now, before we get to episode 397, before we get to episode 400, I think before we even get to the FWWC, I think we need to get to the shoot and shout. We've had a lot of great conversation. We got a lot of energy here. I think, and gentlemen, I think you guys would agree with me. We're going to be having the Friday Night Challenge from the FWWC here in just a minute. I think we need to go into shoot and shout because I think we could both have a shoot and a shout right here on the program tonight.
Wow. Well, I absolutely love that idea. And with your gentlemen's permission, I would actually like to go first because I've got a personal shoot and shout this week that's got me really fired up. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go ahead into music. You know what to do in the back. Go ahead and play that shoot and shout music for episode 396 of the WTP.
It's just one of those days when you don't want to wake up. Everything is fun, everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life's on contract. Your best bet's to stay away, motherfucker. It's just one of those days.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk podcast shoot and shout segment. Yours truly, the Night Owl, will go first, and I will admit this has absolutely nothing to do with professional wrestling. Now, I'm tempted to crap all over Boston Celtics fans because they are the rudest, most disrespectful fan base in professional wrestling. I'm sorry, not only in professional wrestling, but really in all sports, whether it's basketball, football, whatever it may be, it doesn't really matter. Boston sports fans are notorious for being absolutely hateful and just flat out mean, okay? But I'm not. What I want to shoot on tonight is every single year when I'm on the brink of going on vacation, I don't know what it is about my job that everything just hits the fan. Renee, can you do this? Renee, can you save a baby from a burning building? Renee, can you pick up the spilt milk? Renee, can you put up 1,000 time clocks in 1,000 buildings in 1,000 seconds? I don't know what it is about the week that your boy the Night Owl is getting ready to go on vacation, but that week always turns into hell in a handbasket. Even today, for example, and by the way, Hoss, we love you, brother. God bless you. God bless your wife. I know that if you could have been here, you would have been here, man. We're hoping your wife a speedy recovery as she deals with her health issues. But even this, as an example, I wasn't even supposed to be here tonight. But because it's the week of my vacation, add something else to the to-do list. Oh, my gosh. I'm almost thinking that it doesn't even make sense for me to take vacation anymore because the week before my vacation, well, there's only really one way to sum it up. Hopefully on Thursday when I'm down in Clearwater, I'll feel a whole lot better about what happened this week. But right now, guys, that's my shoot and shout. Somebody save me, please.
Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and go next. And I got a lot of things here. I know we're only supposed to have one, maybe one of each. First of all, I got to tell you right now, Renee, I totally agree with you. It's been one of those weeks between all the other things I got going. I'm going 100 million miles an hour. We know the summer's a busy time for Luke Roberts here in the Luke Roberts office. I got to tell you right now, I got to find a way, and I know it's all on myself, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do office work. Renee, I agree with you 100%. That stuff's got to go. I got to find a way to get that taken care of because 4 o'clock office work on a Tuesday morning gets kind of rough. And I got to tell you right now, I got several shout outs here real quick. Number one, I want to give a shout out to all the viewers. We got a lot of great comments here tonight. Make sure to share. Make sure to put those comments up there. Number two, I want to give a shout out not only to the NBA, but the NHL playoffs going on right now. Baseball season kicking into full speed. And another one I want to throw out there too, I want to throw a shout out to all of those people who have supported the Wrestle Talk podcast. We've had 396 episodes. That's a lot of episodes of the WTP. My view right now, my shout's real simple. Thank you for all the things that you've brought to us over 396 episodes. Because of that, because of all the things that you've done, the sponsors have done, everybody that's ever been a part of the show, we know, and again, guys, you saw this last week, we know wrestling. And the reason why we know wrestling is because of each and every person that has contributed to the Wrestle Talk podcast for 396 episodes. Lots of shout outs tonight, guys. But I got to tell you right now, it's all because of the people that have helped make us what we are today.
No, absolutely right. Great one, Fly Walker. Also, you too, Night Owl. So I got something to shoot on here. And listen, I've been down this road before on Wrestle Talk Podcast, but I feel I have to say it each and every day, not just on Wrestle Talk Podcast, not just every Tuesday, but each and every day. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know, I am a truck driver. That is my shoot job. That's what pays the bills. For everybody out on the road, everybody here drives. 98% of you own a vehicle and you do drive. Please give us truck drivers room to stop, okay? It takes us about the length of a football field. That's 100 yards for us to come to a complete stop, okay? I see it all day. I get cut off all day. I keep my composure, God willing, but I've seen so many accidents since I've been on the road, and I've only been on the road for a year, and I've seen more accidents with people and truck drivers just in this year alone than I've seen in the other 34 years of my life. So, ladies and gentlemen, get home to your loved ones each and every night. You see a big 53-footer, just like you see people with motorcycles, be easy, calm down, take that extra 5 minutes you got to have to slow down so you guys can get home safe and so you can get on Wrestle Talk Podcast each and every Tuesday, all right? Now, I want to shout out to each and every lady, woman, and mother behind Wrestle Talk Podcast. All the wives, all the moms, all the daughters, we appreciate each and every one of you. That's a special shout out for Mrs. Money Mayo. She puts up with me coming down here on Tuesday nights, whether I'm hosting or whether I'm in the comment section and sharing along Wrestle Talk Podcast. She holds down the fort upstairs, and I would not be able to be on here without her. And I know that goes for Mrs. Night Owl. I know that goes for Mrs. Flywalker and all the fabulous ladies. And also a big shout out to Mrs. Hardcore Hoss. We hope you get well soon.
Well, guys, I got to tell you right now, again, a lot of great shout outs. And I also want to extend my thoughts are with the Haas family right now, taking care of things here. And again, Haas is a big part of why the Wrestle Talk Podcast is where it is today. And guys, I got to tell you right now, we talked about a lot in the first hour. And Sonny, I can tell you're about 14 cups of coffee now. You're getting ready because in a little more than 10 minutes, we're going to have Harry Slash, known for ECW, going to be here on the program. I know he's going to have a great introduction for that in just a few minutes. Night Owl, I know we're just a couple minutes over time, but I think it's one of those now. I think it's time for that FWWC Friday Night Challenge. What do you think? Are we ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, man, the one and only, the originator, the creator, the head administrator, CEO is going to be joining us here during the break. But before we do that, guys, allow me permission just one more time during the first hour to hit our wonderful sponsors, starting with Everything Compat, hosted by UFC Hall of Famer Pat Milicic and Jeffrey Wilson. Kincaid Arcade, Esports Bar KC, Interstate 70 Sports Media, Royal Mills Transportation, Painter's Dream Productions, Rathbun Engraving, Me Fiesta KC Party Rentals, Nobleman's Barber Lounge in Kansas City, Missouri. Don't forget to ask for Pete the Barber. And, of course, as always, the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion, the FWWC. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome in my partner in crime in that premier fantasy wrestling league. And listen, we're a very credible podcast with a lot of listeners. I don't want to brag or anything like that, but I've gotten heat from folks about, hey, bro, I love the podcast, but that fantasy shit, dude, I really don't get it. It's weird. It doesn't make sense to me. E-feds are for freaking lame asses. I've heard it all. But here's what I want to tell you. There are people who can't pursue their dream of becoming professional wrestlers, whether it's money, circumstance, physical limitations, people in wheelchairs or whatever. Dude, the FWWC and E-feds in general give us an opportunity to kind of exercise that muscle that otherwise, Dewan, we wouldn't have an opportunity to exercise. So can you speak on that for a moment? And then I will leave you to go through the Friday night card for the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide chapter. You want to hit on that with me first?
What up, though? Cheers to you,
man?
sir. Not
Cheers
sure what
to
you're drinking
Hey,
on.
Where is your Wrestle Talk podcast mug, sir?
You ain't sent me one yet, boy. What you doing?
Wow. All right, Dewan, we'll leave it to you. We'll give you about 3.5 minutes to go ahead and go through the FWWC card. We'll be back after that, and we'll get right back into the conversation as we're only a few minutes away from our featured guest of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, legendary musician, a guy who's a pro wrestling fanatic through and through, a guy who's contributed more than you know, and you're going to find out more about it here tonight on episode 396, the one and only Harry effing Slash. Dewan, it's all yours, baby.
It's all good. And speaking on what you were saying as relates to fantasy wrestling, I don't know the exact number, but I want to say at least 5 members of the FWWC have gone on to professional wrestling careers, whether they're managers or workers in the ring, whatever it is. They've taken their character that they started here in the FWWC, branded that character, made it something great, and now they are in the business of professional wrestling. The FWWC is nothing more than a platform, an extension for people who enjoy professional wrestling to convert that to fantasy wrestling. But some of those guys actually take that and pursue the career. And I'm going to tell you something. All of them have been successful. All of them have done the damn thing. I'm not going to name them all. You know you are. Extremely proud of you guys. Also, shout out to you, Night Out in the Wrestle Talk podcast. I know episode 400 is going to be off the freaking chain. All right, I got about 2 minutes left because I already took 1 minute to put everybody over. All right, Friday night, it's going down. It's getting wild. It is a week before FWC Hell in a Cell, so we kind of got to fill in the blanks here. So these matches that's going down Friday, if you will, we're going to kind of call this revenge matches because we got some major beef we got to settle. We got people sticking their nose into other wrestlers' business that doesn't belong there. So starting off, we're going to have ourselves a little bit of cat scratch fever. El Luchador will finally get his hands on the Battle Cat. As you might have seen in the role play last week, Battle Cat stuck his nose in El Luchador's and James Butka's match. Doggone it, there's going to be some retribution. So Lucha and Battle Cat Friday cat scratch fever match is going down. You never know. James Butka's might be somewhere lurking around checking that match out. Another match is happening. Prophet's Revenge. As you know, Bishop, our one and only prophet here in the FWWC, one half of the Prophets of Madness, had a little run-in to the new guy, the newster, the rookie, the Crimson Maniac Jester. Put him in the hospital, but Bishop has been cleared for medical. He has been medically cleared to compete, and he is back. And this Friday, Bishop and KMJ are going to lock horns in the middle of that ring. A fighter's return match, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't been looking at the promos, please go to the FWC Facebook page and check out all the amazing promos and content we have uploaded. A returning, he is no longer Jake Flying Ryan. He is no longer Jake White. He is now Evan Lash, and he will be taking on the newcomer, the rookie Ace, who is a member of the Assassin Syndicate. I think those boys need a lesson in respect. And the returning former general manager of the Red Brand, when we had the brand battle, Evan Lash, will be in the ring versus Ace. A tag team match, we will have Holy Hell versus Devil's Dynasty with Paleface. Now, I don't know what the deal with this Paleface guy is. Everybody's saying it's me. I really don't recall what the hell's happening. I just know I step in that ring, I do my job. Whatever hell happens when the match goes on, that's beyond me. But apparently it's going to be Helly Hell versus Devil's Dynasty. That is sick, and none other than RFWWC European Champion Cannibal Lecter with Paleface. They're going to lock horns this upcoming Friday. And in the main event, ladies and gentlemen, the main event of this FWC Friday Night Challenge, we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a tornado tag team match. The returning Saviors of Funk, that is the FWC Spartans Heart Champions, Funky Flex, and the former FWC World Heavyweight Champion, Saber Saint. None of
Okay.
All right,
you still
we're back.
with us there, Dewan? Okay.
Yep,
Just
had
wanna
my
make sure
phone
we still
ready.
got you, buddy. Go ahead. Continue.
We will have Saviors of Funk versus Hoss Mafia. That is Sister Hoss and Hardcore Hoss this Friday. Tornado old school tag team match. You got to watch out. Luke Justice has a little bit of bone to pick with Hardcore Hoss and all the shenanigans they be having going on. You got to watch them. Like I said, this Friday is all about revenge. This Friday is all about settling beef, because next Friday and next week will be FWWC Hell in a Cell. I'm going to tell you, that card is already being put together, and it's going to be bananas. But let's settle this beef this Friday. Get that out the way. We got some major action going down Friday night, baby. That is the card.
I absolutely love that card. And just to remind everybody, if you want to go into that card in more depth, in more detail, okay, exclusive FWWC podcast every single Thursday at WrestleTalkPodcast.com, okay, Blog Talk Radio / WrestleTalk Podcast. Dewan is the host. He will go into each match specifically and in great detail, and members of the FWWC have the opportunity to call in and raise some hell. Now, Dewan, I want to go back to the beginning of you joining us. I want you to repeat what you said, because I know you mentioned that we've got several professional wrestlers that are in the FWWC. In case somebody missed it, man, could you repeat that message for the folks? Because this ain't your daddy's ECfed, ladies and gentlemen. This is #fantasy wrestling, man. So breaking down for us one more time before we let you get out of here.
Yes, sir. Like I said, we've been around for 10 years, 10 plus years. And a lot of the guys that started in the FWWC, and this is legit, this is a shoot, this is 100% real. You can ask them themselves. Like I said, I like to call our place a character development place, if you will, a character development platform, if you will. You know, if you go into the ring, you got to work. You got to have substance. You got to develop your character. You got to know how to talk. You got to know how to work. You got to have the entire package. So I don't mind. I know the Night Owl doesn't mind. Some of those guys come here and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? How should I fine tune my character this way? Because obviously we can't help them in the ring. Well, Night Owl, you may be able to do, but I don't think I could do it. But they develop their character and they go into the real world of professional wrestling. One shout out, El Diablo. That's one guy. Christopher Miller. Kurt Gannon. A few
Johnny
guys,
Rocco.
man. Johnny Rocco. Like
Yeah,
those guys were former members of the FWWC. They've gone on into the real world of professional wrestling. And I'm going to tell you something. They are kicking ass and taking names.
That's right. Well, Dewan, thank you for being with us here tonight. Brother, one more time, shout out Royal Mills Transportation. You are the proprietor. You're actually taking my ass to the airport in about a day or so. So,
at
man,
4:30 in the morning.
That's right.
You make sure you wake up. My alarm will be set. You make sure you get your ass up.
Bro, I'm so anxious to get down to Florida, bro. I promise I'll be up at like 2 o'clock, man.
Damn straight.
Again, guys, for all your local transportation needs, clean, fast, friendly, Royal Mills Transportation, hit up Dewan Mills for more information. Dewan, we'll see you next time, bro.
We out it, baby. Let's get it.
Peace. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back officially with hour number 2 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. And guess what? I'm not here alone, because to my left, the one and only Luke Skywalker Roberts, and directly underneath us, the one, the only big money man, the one and only Sonny Money Mayo. Guys, what an absolutely extraordinary episode we have thus far. And we haven't even gotten to the main course just yet. We're about 5 minutes away from our featured guest of the evening. Let's get your thoughts first, because Sonny's still muted. Skywalker, Skywalker, assessment on the show so far, buddy. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm happy. I'm not the only one that's muted here tonight on the Wrestle Talk podcast, so it's not just me. I can tell you the first hour has been great. I mean, again, the discussion was awesome. That's what makes the Wrestle Talk podcast such a great place to be, is you can have such great, knowledgeable discussion about the world of professional wrestling each and every week. And I got to tell you guys, this commentary that we've been getting lately here in the chat through all of our great viewers has been awesome. To see that improve just so much each and every week, and having people on here like Michael Earl Pam, like having Aaron Wallace, I know, has been on the program here tonight. I know that we've had Williams been here. We've got Assad has been on tonight. We've had Herb Simmons on here. Matter of fact, too, I think we were talking earlier on. I got a message while the show was going on here tonight about the idea of the Lumberjacks have been watching tonight, and they had just recently at their last event won a loser leave title match against KGB, no longer in ECW, as a result of their victory. So, I mean, again, right now, that's one of the things about the Wrestle Talk podcast. We focus on all avenues of professional wrestling here. Episode 396, still going strong. And you know something, too? Real quick shout out. Somebody we kind of haven't talked about recently, but we need to make sure we focus on him. Nightmare Jones, Joe Lance. I know he's always watching the program as well. He's always there. And I have a very strong feeling that he's going to be a part of episode 400 in just a couple of weeks. If I'm not mistaken, too, that'll be on Tuesday, June 21st.
Right. And you know what's crazy? We haven't had him on or Haas on to talk about Celeb Fest. Because they were both at Celeb. Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think they were right next door to Ted DiBiase and some other pro wrestling legends. So the fact that we got a table at an event like that, shout out to our boy Chad Clark, by the way, doing huge things over in Maryland, the beautiful city of Baltimore, man. I can't wait to actually make my way out there personally. And for those who don't know, the Wrestle Talk podcast is hitting the road in September for the Cauliflower Alley Club. So if you're not a Cauliflower Alley Club member just yet, or you haven't got your plane tickets yet, and I know we got a little bit of news, Skywalker, I know you're excited about this, so I'll let you go ahead and announce it, because the CAC just got a little bit better. Bro, why don't you drop that news on them?
Well, I got to tell you right now, it's already for a professional wrestling fan, and I know there's a lot of members of the Wrestle Talk podcast family that are members of the Cauliflower Alley Club that tune in each and every week. But this year's Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, which is going to be in that last week of September in Las Vegas, Nevada, we've already got the Rock and Roll Express that are going to be recognized. You have Kevin Sullivan, who's going to be recognized. Wildfire Tommy Rich is going to be recognized. A man that I've really grown to love over the last 2 years as a referee. Billy Silverman's going to be recognized. And I got to tell you right now, it was just announced about 48 hours ago, might be a little off of my time, being recognized with the Iron Mike Magursky Award. John Bradshaw Layfield is going to be at the 2022 Cauliflower Alley Club in Las Vegas. And you know the best part? The Wrestle Talk podcast is going to be in the house as well. We're going to be there. We're going to hopefully catch interviews with all of the wrestlers that are going to be a part of this year's Cauliflower Alley Club. I know I'm going to be there. Night Owl, you've been working on some things. I know a couple other members of the team have been working. This has been months in the progress, months in the planning stages. And again, we will be able shortly to be able to officially 100% confirm that the WTP will be at CAC. And I know I just put a lot of letters out there, but Wrestle Talk Podcast, CAC, September 2022. Make sure to keep up on WrestleTalkPodcast.com and all that great social media.
WTP at the CAC in LV. So there you go.
Well,
there you go.
And all I can say, it's JBL. I mean, that's all I can say.
I hope I see him clothesline the shit out of somebody there. Hopefully
I hope it's you.
Why?
Yeah.
Is that like Joey Janela?
Yeah,
is that
that's
what
right.
it is right now?
And the 76ers, that's why. You bum. Yeah, that's right. Right here all day. Well, listen, guys.
Next season.
Yeah. Trust the process.
Trust the process.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it would not be appropriate for me to do this introduction because, and you know how much I love to do introductions. The man who did the work to facilitate this interview is right here on the line with us, man, at the bottom of the screen, and I got to give him all the credit because he's come on as a host of the show after sitting on the sidelines for a long, long time, and he's really taken an assertive and a proactive approach to being a host of the Wrestle Talk podcast. So much so that he kind of dug in the crates, literally, because we're talking music here, and brought a low-key legend of the professional wrestling game. Everybody knows Jim Johnston. Everybody knows that name. But a name that you may not know is the name of Harry Slash. Sonny Mayo, go ahead and tell us all about it as we welcome in our featured guest for the evening right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast for episode 396.
Well, just like I made on my Facebook post, not only is this guy a kick-ass musician, and he really is because he is the lead singer of Harry Slash and the Slash Tones. They do a lot of kick-ass music. But for us wrestling fans, when, especially me, growing up in Jersey, Philly area there, Flywalker, both sides of the state line, my friend, when I hear certain music, especially in the wrestling world, I get goosebumps automatically each and every time. And every time I hear the ECW theme, I not only get goosebumps on my arms, but down my legs. It takes me back to being a 15-year-old kid at Swanson and Rittner in that stinking ass hot bingo hall on a hot summer night and seeing Sandman drinking beer and seeing Taz suplexing people on their head. And the highlight behind all that music is our featured guest tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, as I stated, he is the lead singer of Harry Slash and the Slash Tones, Mr. Harry Slash.
What's up, guys?
Yo!
Yeah.
What's up, man? And he's
Hell
one of us
yeah.
and he's still got hair. How about that?
Yeah, well,
Shit, man, I'm jealous as fuck over here, bro. What's up, man?
well, mine, I have the Klingon style. It's really long in the back and, inside inverted on top, like a Klingon.
You got the
inside.
Hogan going on, it looks
Yeah,
like.
basically.
Hell
All
yeah.
right, bro. Well, hey, thank you so much for being here. I would be remiss if we didn't let Sonny Money Mayo lead off this interview, bro. He's been so hyped to have you on. I know you guys are kind of kindred spirits in a way, so we'll let you guys kick it off, and myself and Skywalker will jump in as needed, if that's okay.
Feel free.
Let's do
No,
it.
Harry, man, thank you again. I've said it to you over messages. I've said it on here. I'm so hyped to have you on. Again, thank you before we get this whole train started. Now, listen, we're going to talk all ECW and all that, but I'm really interested about you. So what got you started in music? When did you decide sometime in your life that, hey, man, I'm going to pick up a guitar? Was it something you heard? Was it Jimmy Page? Like, I'm a big Zeppelin head.
Right
you
there.
know? Is that what it was?
I bought Led Zeppelin 1 by mistake.
Really?
When I was very, very young, I was into old radio programs and vintage video. Now we're talking about first grade, kindergarten, first, second grade, around there. I had a fascination with the old black and white film footage of the Hindenburg explosion.
Okay, yeah.
I was in a record store with some of my older cousins with my birthday money. And I was going to pick out a record, and they thought I was going to get, I don't know, like Sesame Street or the Partridge Family, and I saw Zeppelin 1 in the bin. Now, this was years after it was released, but I saw the cover. I thought it was, I never bothered to flip the album over and see what was on the back.
Right.
I thought Led Zeppelin was the German name for Hindenburg. So I brought it to the front, paid for it, put it in the bag, went home, put it on this little plastic one-piece like toy record player that kids had back then, where the top flips open and it's the speaker. Yeah. I put it on. I expected to hear, we're standing here in Lindenhurst, New Jersey, and we're waiting for the Hindenburg to come in. Instead, I heard Good Times, Bad Times on the headphones, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Wow.
This isn't what I wanted, but this is so cool.
Yeah.
My father at the time, maybe a few years earlier, his job was changing the 45s in jukeboxes all over Manhattan.
Okay.
My father, God bless him, he was a hoarder. So where most of the guys that, did the jukeboxes, they threw the records out, he brought them home. So one day I went into the garage and I grabbed a stack of 45s that had like Doris Day, Jimi Hendrix, Celtic bands, Greek bands, Irish band, like a whole bunch of different shit. Louis Armstrong, Jimmy Durante, Sinatra, Sonny and Cher, the Beach Boys. And I started listening. I'm like, well, this is different.
Yeah.
This isn't the shit I see on TV. And my father had played guitar when he lived in Greece, and he had a guitar that he never played. So one day I pulled that out and I just started fiddling around. And, eventually I took lessons, started bands when I was younger as a punk kid. And, yada, yada, yada. I'm in the studio screaming, "This is extreme" at 2:00 in the morning.
So, and again, we're going to get plenty into this ECW stuff. We got so many people in the comments. We've got people wanting to jump on, ask ECW questions, and we're going to get all into that. But, more with the music, because, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass by any means. I really want to know. So how did we come to Harry Slash and the Slash Tones? How did that get started?
Wow. Okay, rewinding high school era, I had punk bands.
Okay.
I wasn't a great guitar. I was, on my best day, I was a step between mediocre and pretty fucking terrible, to be honest with you. But I knew how to write. I could write songs. So I usually had another guitar player, a keyboard player, and a singer. And I had a couple of punk bands. But honestly, in retrospect, when I think about the material and the music I wrote back then, I sucked. I was the shits. I played CBGBs, but I was still the shits.
Hey, but that's a credit right there for those on the podcast not knowing about CBGBs, man. That's pretty fucking big right there, brother.
I played there twice. I played CBGBs, I think, with either the band Storm or 1111 or Focus Concentrate. I forget, man. It was so long ago. And then the next time I played CBGBs was in 2001. We did the Punk Magazine 25-year anniversary party where we did a set of ECW themes.
Hell yeah.
That's the only time we ever did like an entire set of ECW songs.
That's shit. And to be in the crowd for that, and and I've seen some posts throughout the internet, not just Facebook, but people who've been there, who were there at that show, in 2001. And here comes the 15-year-old wrestling fan to me to hear Harry Slash and the Slash Tones live on stage, fucking doing ECW music. I would have been fucking doing handstands and shit.
It was an incredible night. It was also John Holmstrom, the cartoonist writer that started Punk Magazine, and he did cartoons for Bananas. Great artist, a good friend of mine. It was also his birthday, so we put that thing together just to do for his birthday of all ECW music, and then he gave us like this sick time slot. You're familiar with Thor, the muscle man, hardcore dude? He blows up hot water bottles and bends pipes around his neck while singing German heavy metal.
No, but now that you say that, I'm definitely going to YouTube that shit tonight before I go to bed.
There's an awesome documentary on Thor, I think, on Netflix, and I'm sure you've heard of the Dictators.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, we were on in between Thor and the Dictators, so that was like a tough slot. But we had fun. We also had a bunch of the wrestlers came down. Balls Mahoney, I think Chris Chetty, Danny Doring came and hung out because John had gotten Rob Van Dam into High Times Magazine, if you remember.
I do remember that. Yep, I remember that very vividly.
It was John Holmstrom that set that up. But we just jumped ahead. So backtracking, I hear Zeppelin. I want to be a musician. I try and play drums. I am not coordinated enough to use both hands and both feet at the same time. So I stopped playing drums. Thank God. And I started taking guitar lessons. And then the punk band started. At some point or another, I messed up my left hand. I don't want to get into details, but like 3 out of 4 fingers broke, and it just never the same. And then gotten cut up here where a tendon got stabbed and severed. I did stupid shit as a kid, but I was never that great of a guitar player. Right. So I didn't think the music world would miss me. When I was a club promoter in the 90s, I put a band together as a joke just to do so for me to sing covers for my birthday party that year. Club promoters will exploit any tiny little bit of their life to get extra people in the room, and make a little more money. So other promoters in New York were having like 7 days of birthday celebrations. I said, what the hell? I put a band together with my friends who just happened to be these badass New York musicians. We got on stage. We did some covers. We did some funny covers where I sang sitcom lyrics over like classic rock. Like they played Purple Haze. I sang the words to Green Acres. They played My Generation by the Beverly Hillbillies. They played My Generation by The Who, and I sang the Beverly Hillbillies over that. And that whole thing just took off on its own. A year later, another promoter said, hey, why don't you do another Slash Tone show? I wasn't planning to do it. And that was the first time I ever sang on stage in front of people. I was not a vocalist by any means, but it was a joke. You know, it was
Right.
a one-night thing. The following year, 94, another promoter says, why don't you do another Slash Tone show? So I did that as a joke, calling it the 1994 reunion tour. And I added more musicians for the second show. It was like originally like 5 of us or 6. Then it became 8. And then for the third show, I put together like a 12-piece rock band with 4 guitar players and 2 drummers and 2 harmonica, just pure lunacy and pure comedy, because it wasn't really a cover band anymore. It was just like Dred Zeppelin meets Weird Al Yankovic meets
Right.
Frank Zappa, total have fun joking around shit.
Yeah.
And by the third show, we had like 500 and 600 people showing up, and we did one show with Warrior Soul as the last band, and the club emptied out before Warrior Soul went on, which blew my mind. I'm like, wait, so all these people were here for us? Like, what? How the fuck did that happen?
That's fucking awesome, though.
Yeah.
You know, it goes to show that, you know, you never know how life's going to really evolve like that. Like you said, you just started off as fucking around, and then here we go. So, but let's lead it in to the juiciness here, Harry, before I jump it over to Flywalker, because I know he's itching, man. So how did Harry Slash come into ECW? What got this whole thing started here?
I knew Paul Heyman from the nightclub world, but didn't know what he did for a living. I wasn't watching wrestling. I didn't know what a Paulie Dangerously was. And I ended up partying with this really cool dude from Scarsdale named Paul. We hung out at the same clubs. You end up becoming friends when you see a guy like at the China Club week after week, and then the Limelight and Danceteria, you become friends.
Right.
No idea what he did for a living. Eventually I found out. Started going to ECW shows maybe a few years after that, because originally I was using the excuse my car wouldn't make it to Philadelphia because I really wasn't into wrestling. Okay, I was big into wrestling when Bruno Sammartino and Backlund and Superstar Graham were champions. And then the cartoons came in.
Yeah.
Which really wasn't my thing. Now
Right.
I love that shit. I love that complete gaga crazy cartoon era. I thought it's brilliant, but back then I could care less. Plus
Right.
I lived in Queens and we didn't have cable for the longest time. So when pro wrestling went off the air on WOR, which was broadcast television, Bob Backlund was champion. The next time I saw wrestling was maybe a few years later on Thanksgiving, and the guy from the Rocky movie was champion. And he was fighting a giant chicken or something like that. And I'm like, what is this? So for years, wrestling for me was when I'd go to my cousin's house for Thanksgiving and they had the Survivor Series pay-per-view. And every year it'd be like, who's that? Is he a good guy or a bad guy? Completely oblivious to it. I wasn't getting it on TV, and I lost interest, to be honest with you. Right. So I know Paul. I finally find out he does ECW. I use excuses not to go to the shows. And then around late 95, they started doing shows in Queens at the Lost Battalion Hall. He calls me up and says, hey, I got a show this weekend. And I'm like, oh, dude, you know, my Bronco's got 200,000 miles on it. It'll break down before it gets to Philadelphia. And he goes, the show's on Queens Boulevard. It's 10 minutes from your house. If your fucking car can't make it to Queens Boulevard, I will send a cab for you. I said, all right, you got me. I'll come see the show. One thing I should point out that one of my guitar players, Mike Lawler, the guy who got chokeslammed by 911,
okay, yeah,
Star Spangled Banner, he was a Slash Tone. So even when I wouldn't talk to Paul, I'd get the weekly invites to go to the shows. I didn't want to go.
Right.
Is Bruno on the card? Superstar Graham? Oh, they're not. Is Putski there? No, I don't want to go. Yeah, and it was nothing against the guys. It wasn't my cup of tea.
Right.
So I go to the Lost Battalion Hall. The show, it's like 8 to 11. So I show up at like 10:45. So I would see minimal wrestling, but hang out with Paul afterwards. So at least I could say, hey, man, I made an appearance. I came to one of your shows. Then I went and saw the first show from beginning to end. And that was out in Deer Park, Long Island on a Sunday, where the Gangsters attacked the Eliminators, where A whole bunch of crazy shit was happening. I'm like, this is okay. And then there was a brawl between, I think, the Dudleys and the FBI. And Big Dick Dudley put Big Guido, Primo Carnero III, through a plate glass window, not plexiglass, plate glass window, head first, glass flying everywhere. I'm like, this is sick. This is crazy. This is like a mosh pit at a Guar show. I like this. This is cool. So I started watching the TV show. Fast forward, I'm going to shows here and there. I'm helping Paul out doing little shit, you know, away from the shows, like getting ads in the New York Post or Daily News or something like that. We're getting closer to the pay-per-view. Monday Night Raw comes up. He needs generic versions or, you know, unlicensed versions or copyright-free versions of the songs wrestlers were using so they could appear on Monday Night Raw. He needed a sound-alike for Taz, a sound-alike for Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and one other. I forget.
Was it Perry? Yeah, I think Perry was on that Raw show. Maybe Perry Saturn.
Wasn't Sabu on it too?
Sorry?
Wasn't Sabu on the program as well when he dove off the Raw sign?
Yeah, they say he fell off the R. Yes. Okay. Paul tried to squeeze as much in as possible in the allotted time. Like the Eliminators just hit the fake ring crew guy with total elimination, yada yada. But Paul needed the music, and he let me know like less than a week earlier. And I'm like, dude, a 3-minute song takes a lot longer than 3 minutes to record. Right. Plus, what do you need exactly? And he says, well, you know how on Nitro, Diamond Dallas Page comes out to Soundgarden, but it's not Soundgarden? I'm like, no, I have no idea. At the time, I had a legit office. I was like, well, I don't want to get into that, but let's just say I had a legitimate office, kind of. Well, I had an office. So I left my office and I went to a record store. For you younger kids, that's where us old farts used to buy vinyl and CDs and cassettes and shit like that. And I bought every wrestling album I could find. I went back to my office. Let's just say it was an office. I went back to my office. I got, you know, like I know it's been more than 7 years for some of this shit, but, you know, I'd rather not.
Hey, it passes by, man. Yeah, 7 years is the mark. After that, fuck it. You can, you know, you're free game.
Yeah, but, you know, like there's reasons I can't go to Florida, but I don't want to get into that.
Hey, I understand that. I understand.
Anyhow, so I go back, I listen to the wrestling CDs. I call them up. I'm like, dude, this is shit. This isn't even real music. This is like a chord, a verse, a chorus, then it repeats the chorus, then it repeats the verse, and then it does the chorus 20 times, and then there's some guy just screaming, I'm just a sexy boy, over and over and over again. Is this what you want? And he goes, yes, but no. Like, this is what it was like dealing with Paul. I'm like, what do you mean, yes, but no? He goes, I need it to sound like what Taz is using, but not be what Taz is using. I'm like, I think I know what you're trying to say. The word you're looking for is derivative. And he's like, yes. Okay, so I got together with some amazing musicians. I had 4 days. I was able to get 1 day where all these guys were together. I used Eddie Wall, who, if you look him up, WOHL, he's got, I don't know, like 100 Emmy Awards for music right now, and he produced El Nino and Primer 55. I had Richie Scarlett and Steve Budgie Warner on guitar and on drums, who were in the Ace Frehley band. Excuse me, and Budgie's played like with Leslie West and like top tier musicians. There's another dude, Andy, whose last name I'm forgetting at the moment, who's a badass local musician. And in 24 hours, I went into the studio like on a Saturday morning at like 9 a.m. and I got home Sunday at like 10 o'clock. And I did this insane 24-hour marathon where I walked out of there with 3 mediocrely produced derivatives or 4, whatever it was, for Monday Night Raw. And honestly, the mixes were pretty terrible. There were a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad notes. But my thinking was, they need this by Monday. We only have today.
Yep.
No one's going to ever hear this shit again. There's going to be people talking, announcers, the crowd, all that shit's going to be happening. So nobody will notice the bad shit. And I walked into Monday Night Raw with DAT tapes, not even CDs. Nobody had CD burners yet.
Right.
Walked in with DAT tapes earlier in the day. All I wanted was the sound check. Instead, I ended up playing cards with The Undertaker, eating the food at catering, fucking around in the Manhattan Center, smoking weed in the parking lot, just to get a sound check. Show starts, I still hadn't gotten a sound check. I had no idea how the shit was going to come off on TV. I figured at least with a sound check, we could EQ certain parts. Because again, 24 hours. After 12 hours of music, your ears start to get fried. You hear different frequencies that aren't there.
Right.
Okay, so this thing happens. They used Dreamers and they used Taz's. It went off well. I got to see the VHS. I recorded it at home. I watched it on TV when we got home from the Manhattan Center, and I'm like, all right, it didn't sound that bad. Okay, I'm done with this shit. And then Taz wanted to start using that all the time. I had to go back in the studio and fix the bad parts. At that point, I brought in the other guitar player who I ended up doing most of the ECW stuff with, Roderick Cohen. In his brief resumes, he had toured with Jean A. and was the guitar player for the Buddy Miles band at that point. And just a badass guitar player. So we redid Taz's music for Taz, and I had Taz record that I don't need a weapon, my hands are my weapon. I saw that on a promo, and I'm like, I want to put that in the tune. I want to start the tune off like that. So he recorded that on cassette at Ron Buffone's studio. They got me the cassette. This is how antiquated equipment was. Right now, all of this could have been done on a phone in 10 minutes with GarageBand, you know?
Yep.
You know, but we didn't have the luxury of today's technology back then. So we did that tune. I got a good mix. All right, Taz is happy. Politics kick in. Perry Saturn is running the school with Taz.
Yep.
Brother, if Taz has his own music, I got to have my own music too. So we ended up doing Total Elimination. And as we're doing Total Elimination, we're fixing that up. Paul needs a intro theme for the Barely Legal pay-per-view. And that's when we got This Is Extreme.
Yeah.
So This Is Extreme and Total Elimination both made their first appearance at the Barely Legal pay-per-view, and Taz is like a month earlier on TV. But all that shit with ECW was like rush.
Right.
You know, and if you want like a little backstage thing, when I went out to a show out in Long Island, because Perry wanted to talk to me about what he was looking for in the song, you've heard of guys walking around the locker rooms naked.
Oh yeah.
Perry was one of them. So I'm sitting at this like table in the backstage area with Taz, myself, and then Perry Saturn to my right, and Perry's balls naked. I'm not putting it over. I'm just, well, yeah, I could do that. We could probably use like, a drum sequencer. I will not sell for the naked man.
Was he naked? Because I mean, like you said here, in the pro wrestling world, in the pro wrestling locker room, 99% of the time, someone's walking around fucking naked. But was Perry naked to pop you? Was he doing that purposely just to pop you, or was he just?
I don't know. I was still relatively new with ECW. People were still figuring out who the fuck I was, and only a select few knew I was doing music. They thought I was like one of Paulie's production people.
Right.
But Perry being naked was just Perry being Perry, because there were a lot of other shows before and after where he'd just be walking around naked. And there were a couple of other naked dudes, and I'd be like, I used to see this when I'd go to the Limelight at the wrong night, like. Yeah. Oh, good day, man. This is your world. I'm the alien. I don't know this gizzy-mizzy stuff. If this is, if it's normal for your performers to be walking around naked, that's fine. I mean, fuck, I hung out with Motley Crue at one point, and half of them were walking around naked backstage.
Right. I was the very, very, very first time I was backstage at a wrestling show. I was 16 years old. I went to a show in South Philly. Wasn't at the arena. It was at a community center. I lived in Northeast Philly at the time, up in the Tacony area. I lived in an apartment building, and a guy who lived in the apartment building with me was a referee, and he knew I was a big mark. He always see me with my DX shit. I became friends with him. He said, "Hey, do you want to go to a wrestling show? You can work security for the night." I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah, absolutely." So we went to the show. We get there a little bit late, and I walk into the locker room, and there was this tag team, and it was two black guys, and they were twins, and they were about fucking 300 pounds each. And as soon as I walk into the locker room, it's these twin black guys, naked as the day they were born. And here I am, 16 years old. It scared the shit out of me. I was like, what the fuck? So what the fuck did I just... I'm looking at the referee, the guy who brought me. I'm like, dude, I'm going to end up on, fucking on the side of a milk carton here. What the fuck is going on? I didn't know what was going on. So, but now, you go into any wrestling locker room almost nowadays before people got politically correct, and somebody's fucking naked there. So, but I see my boy Flywalker, my co-host here, Luke Roberts. Luke, I want you to be able to jump in here and conversate with this, and hopefully it's not about naked men, but...
Well, first of all, I got to say, I was going back earlier on before we got on this talk about Sonny talking about all his stories. But again, talking about music and talking about Weird Al and talking about Frank Zappa, I was figuring there's going to be a Dr. Demento reference in there as well, somewhere along the line, because when you're putting those in there, I was just hoping there was going to be one of those that was thrown.
That's where I heard all the shit that inspired me to do the crazy music. Okay, because he was like the first guy playing Stairway to Gilligan. We got Dr. Demento, I think, on WNEW FM here in New York Sunday nights. Mm-hmm. And he always started it with Napoleon the 14th for the Coming to Take Us Away. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was one of my regulars at Space at Chase. Napoleon the 14th was. I never asked him to get on stage and sing. Space at Chase, I'm sorry, that was a club that I was booking in New York where, that's where I got to know a lot of the musicians I'd end up working with. Late 80s, early 90s, somewhere around there. That's the infamous club that was in the G.G. Allen documentary where he started a riot. There's one point I think you can see me like just throwing people out of the club left and right because people were fighting with each other to be able to go back there and beat the hell out of G.G. Allen.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy was psychotic.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we got a couple questions here from the viewers of the program. And the first one I want to throw out there is there a favorite song that you made and why?
I gravitate towards Hookah Blues because it wasn't meant for ECW.
No shit.
Which is probably much like Enter Sandman became absolutely perfect for Sandman because it wasn't written for him.
All right.
Hookah Blues was not written for Sabu, but I guess subliminally, subconsciously, something was going on where it became perfect for him. It was a song idea I had in mind where I was going to mimic the drums from China White by the Scorpions. The rhythm pattern was based off March of the Monsters from the Godzilla movie, Destroy All Monsters. Look that up on YouTube, March of the Monsters, and you'll be like, oh, shit, yes. And the saxophone part was written at the last second. Arno was originally just going to double the guitars. That ba-da-da-da-da. He was just going to double that. But when he was warming up, he started throwing out these Middle Eastern riffs, and I'm like, stop, do that. Forget everything you were supposed to do. And I remember clearly giving him inspiration, how to approach it by using Star Trek references. You're on the planet Remulac. There's a 3-breasted belly dancer on the other side of the room, but she doesn't speak any known language other than saxophone. Get her to come to you. And he's like, gotcha. and he just started pulling out these crazy sax licks and Middle Eastern riffs. And, that became perfect. And it ended up being great for Sabu. Another favorite has to be the clap that we did for Scotty Anton.
Yeah.
Because the whole song is just one giant rip. We're making fun of the Nashville network. We're making fun of WCW. I mean, I called the band John E. Soul, which was a tribute to Jimmy Hart, who was doing the music for WCW. I called it Johnny Soul and his West Coast Wranglers, his WCW. And it was supposed to be a parody of American Males.
Yep.
That Scotty was coming out, and the guitar solo was like some bastardized version of Happy Trails to You and Singing in the Rain mashed up. It was just me, Rod, and Tony Moore. The lead singer of that was the lead singer of Riot, the melodic speed metal band that was on CBS. So Tony came in. I said, I need the cheesiest 80s metal you can give me. He's like, got it. So that song is fun because it was just us having fun coming up with a bad song intentionally to fit within the character of, Scotty was part of the network.
Yep.
So what would a shitty network have as intro music for their star performer, Scotty Anton, other than some shitty band called Johnny Soul and his West Coast Wranglers?
Oh, my. Well, I can tell you right now, again, first of all, I know we were talking about earlier on great viewers. I got to tell you, now getting that, I have to give a shout out to, of all people, my wife's cousin's husband. Again, it's that 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon thing. He is a huge Godzilla fan, and he just got me watching a little bit of it and being able to catch that connection of the reference. I mean, again, thank you very much for that. We do have another question here. As you know, ECW goes from being just a wrestling company to the pay-per-view market to moving into the video game world. And the next question we have here, and Ronan has this up here on the screen, what was it like working on ECW's video game?
It was one day we all went out to Acclaim Studios in Long Island, and they took pictures that, have made it on the web. They took the front, back, sides, like you're being arrested, and pictures of your boots and your hands. And then they take you into a studio where they have you record your catchphrases. I wasn't a wrestler. Honestly, at first, I didn't want to be a part of that. But when I found out that game developers were going to be, jobbers in the game and the camera crew, I said, okay, sure. So they took all the photos. They ended up just using my face and hair and sticking it on a generic body. I guess they were trying to save money at that point. It is my voice in the game. The fourth costume that I only saw once, they put me in some weird, demolition-esque type gear, where I look like an S&M dude. I only got to see it once because I played the game like once or twice, and having to hit those 300 buttons was like too much for me.
It was murder, man. Yeah, it's coming from I'm sure coming from the Atari era and the original Nintendo era to go into that Nintendo 64 era, and WWF Attitude was out around the same time and had the same similar type of buttons on the controller. I mean, I'm a video game fan. I still have a wrestling video game up on one of my PlayStations upstairs. I play every once in a while when I get the chance. And that's a little bit easier now as compared to what it was 20, 22 years ago. On that Nintendo 64, that original PlayStation, to play that ECW game, for those people who didn't know, you had to hit like 10 buttons just to get fucking Tommy Dreamer to throw a punch. I mean, it was fucked up.
Well, the thing is, they then went to, you chose your own move set.
Yep.
And the guys used all the moves that they normally would use in a match.
Right.
I wasn't a wrestler, but I was very familiar with the game. I think it was originally, that game engine was for the WWF Warzone.
Yep.
It was the same game, I believe.
Yep, same. It was that, and they also had the WWF Attitude, I think it was called, and all the same realm of what the ECW. Harry, remind me, was it Anarchy Rules the first game, or was it Hardcore Revolution? Okay.
Yeah. So when it came to move sets, I picked all the moves that were almost impossible to counter because I knew the game. The crucifix pin, the tree of woe, stuff like that.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, Harry, if you don't mind, I want to play a little bit of word association. I'm going to name some ECW wrestlers out here, and you can either give a one-word answer. You can just the first thing that pops into your mind. But I want to go through a couple wrestlers here, if you don't mind, and do a little bit of word association. Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, man. Let's start it off with Sandman.
Friend. Playing Batman trivia on the way to the Lake Placid. Raw Invasion. For some reason, Paul Heyman thought it was a good idea to put me, Van Dam, Sandman, and Van Dam's then wife in one car and make me responsible for getting them to Lake Placid, New York, and sneaking them in the building. I think we went through 2 cases of beer before we even got to the building, probably smoked, I don't know, half ounce of pot. Got lost twice. I got them there. I snuck them in. Like Sandman, I put a towel over his head and he ducked down. So, looked like a short guy. Van Dam took his ponytail out and the fans from far away thought he was Shawn Michaels because we were making those Raw Invasions where ECW was the surprise.
Right.
But
sorry, go ahead, Harry. Keep going, brother. I'm sorry.
It was like when people in the company said, wait, you put Harry you let Harry drive the car with Sandman and Van Dam. They're not showing up. They're probably gonna end up in Canada. Meanwhile, when the show was over, I did make the wrong turn, and Hack was in the front, and he goes, "Yo, I just saw a sign that says Canada 500 miles. I think you better turn around." The next day, to get all the empty beers out of the back seat of I just used a shovel. I was just shoveling the beers and the roaches out of my car.
Hell yeah.
So you asked for one word, and I gave you like a soliloquy.
Hey, no, that's fine, brother. Whatever you want to, you can tell a short story, you can reminisce, whatever. I'll throw another one at you here. Tommy Dreamer.
Good friend. Very smart. Very funny dude that people don't realize. The best thing I saw that Tommy Dreamer ever did was during the pandemic lockdown when Impact Wrestling did Wrestle House.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever laughed that much watching wrestling. I thought that was hysterical, and him playing the demented host was hysterical. It's
fucking gold, dude. For those people out there who haven't watched it, go back and watch it because it is gold, man. It's gold.
For me, that's, like I said, I wasn't into the cartoon era until I really got to watch it years later and said, this is pretty smart. You got a prison guard fighting an inmate, a very, very wealthy man diminishing the name of Dusty Rhodes, who was one of my childhood heroes. And I'm like, oh God, what'd they do to Dusty? And to watch Dusty make that work was great. And then, what we were saying, the Impact House, the Wrestle House of Impact was hysterical. It's like, what else could you do during a pandemic?
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. You had to get creative to keep, fans' eyes on the product, and they knocked it out of the park. I want to throw a name at you here, Harry. And, if you don't want to discuss this, that's fine. We could go on to something else, but it's something that you've kind of talked about publicly online lately. She's been in a lot of the news, man. And I think I know you know where I'm about to go with this. So again, Harry, if you say no comment, no problem on our end, but, the WWE Hall of Famer, Sonny, Tammy Snitch.
Heartbreaking, to be honest.
Man. Yeah.
On a personal level, as a friend, I can't say a bad thing about her. Personally. I was never in the business. We were friends. I didn't know who she was when I first met her because I didn't know about the whole Sonny WWF thing at the time. I almost threw her out of the locker room when I first saw her in ECW. When they told me she was Chris Candido's girl, I'm like, well, let her sit in the audience. And then somebody explained, it's like, dude, she's like one of the hottest people in the business right now.
Yeah.
Every time she got in trouble over the last decade, I kept saying, please let this be the last one. I hope she turns her life around. A lot of people say that she's a vile human being, but somewhere under there is someone who was seriously hurt when they were younger, in my opinion. I don't know that for a fact. Someone who probably should have been on some sort of mood medication and got herself into a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
for years, she kept saying that she was breaking up with the dude, and then she'd put like a post up on Facebook where her knuckles were all bloody, and then she would take it down a few minutes later, and there was all sorts of crazy shit. The drinking, I get that. People have trouble. Ask Jake Roberts. Ask so many musicians, so many wrestlers you can't get off.
Hey, brother, I'm 6 months in without no drinking, man. You know, I get it. I understand
But
for sure.
the drinking and driving, one of my best friends, Arno Heck, my saxophone player, was rear-ended by a drunk driver doing 90 miles an hour 4 years ago and almost broke his back, almost put him in a wheelchair. I know people that have lost loved ones and siblings because somebody decided to drive while drunk. Well, she didn't have a license. Somebody gave her the keys to a car.
Right.
Or she had access to a car and was habitually getting arrested for DWI. No red flags. The courts just kept like, didn't anybody in the legal system realize this woman has a problem? And
Right.
now I probably won't see her again until she's like 70.
Right. And it's a shame, man. I mean, because, you know, I was a kid in the 90s who grew up, and she was the hottest thing on TV. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing. She was the hottest thing on TV. I've had one opportunity to meet her, and again, I was very young at the time. And she was kind of, you know, I don't know if she was having a bad day or if that was just her normal personality, but it was kind of bitchy, you know what I mean? And she was next to Candido. Candido was aces, man. You know, took time, sat there and talked with me, so on and so forth. God rest his soul, man. But it's a shame, you know, it really
I
is.
looked back in ECW. I looked out for her. I had to fight people that attacked her and shit like that. But it was through Chris and because of Chris that I went above and beyond looking out for her. You know, but she was like a 20-something-year-old at the time. She's 49 now.
Yeah.
You know, eventually you have to grow up and be responsible for your actions. And it's heartbreaking. It kills me. It really does break my heart that it went this far. But then I think about some poor 75-year-old bastard that all he did was stop at a red light and he never made it home.
Yeah. Fucking shame, man.
You know,
Fucking
another dude I knew from the club world, he DWI'd, killed 2 people, did his 25 years, and is remorseful as fuck.
Right. And you know, nowadays I don't even give an excuse to the drunk driving. I mean, I didn't even back then, but even now with Uber and Lyft, and you know, it's so goddamn easy. I don't know how many times Night Owl, one of our co-hosts on here, he's one of my best friends in this whole world. I don't know how many times I've been at his house, and it's fucking $30-$40 to get the 30 miles from his house to my house, but I'm paying it. You know what I mean? Instead of not taking that risk of not coming home to my kids or my wife, you know, I'm gonna fucking drop the $40. So at this point in 2022, there's no goddamn excuse to get behind the fucking wheel. I don't care who you are, you know.
I'm no angel. I grew up at a time when drunk driving was a sport.
Yep.
Okay. When the legal drinking age in New York was 18 when I was 18. And it was a sport at one point, like, do 10 shots and then, all right, let's go home.
Right.
And, you know, whatever you didn't hear from on the phone the next day, the home phone, because there was no cell phones, no pages. Well, I guess he didn't make it home.
Yeah.
You know, but eventually you have to grow up.
Yeah. Yep. You absolutely do. You absolutely do.
Myself personally, if I go somewhere, I will have one drink when I get there, and then I won't have another drop if I'm driving. But I have to have at least 2 hours before I get behind the wheel of not drinking. However, if someone's driving me, I'll start drinking before they get here. I have no responsibility. I've got a designated driver who's going to stay sober. I'm getting polluted.
Yep. Let's fucking roll. Yep.
Yeah.
That's always been the rule.
As long as I know that the guy that's going to be driving me home as I'm puking out the window is sober.
Yep. And that's a beautiful thing about me being 6 months sober now, man. It's, now I go to functions and I'm able to I kind of sit back in the room and I almost watching over everybody. And I'm like, fuck, I'm the designated driver now. You want me to fucking roll you through Taco Bell at 2 a.m? Let's go. I know I'm going to get you there safe and I'm going to get you back to wherever the fuck you need to go safely. You know what I mean? So, but let's bring this move back up a little bit, man. And I hope the best wishes to Tammy Snitch, best wishes to her. I hope, she does get help. And, 20, 30 years from now, she's at a convention in Jersey and she's healthy and she's happy and so on and so forth, but Flywalker, you've been sitting over there listening in, man. What do you think, buddy? You got some more questions for my guy Harry here?
Well, I got two of them here, and one of them's up here on the screen. I'm gonna bring that back to just a second. I got one name in the name association here I want to add to you, the Dudleys.
Fuck. Knowing that the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up as they would walk through the curtain in ECW, because I know at some point in the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to have to help Atlas get somebody out of the building that jumps over the guardrail or jumps off a balcony. We had a guy at the Elks Lodge in Queens jump off the balcony to get to the Dudleys. He landed right between Ronnie Lang and I think Big Rick, and he was just like carried out of the Elks Lodge. Every time I would always bring 2 shirts with me to a show, because I knew if the Dudleys were going to do their thing, I was going to probably get soaked in beer if I was going to be ringside.
Yeah.
As far as people, Devon, awesome dude. Bubba is Bubba. I roomed with him one night. Bubba sleeps with his eyes open. It's the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
I've heard many people say that Bubba's a dick. Is that warranted? Is it because what?
Bubba is one of the last bridges of old school kayfabe.
Yeah.
If he's a heel, he's a heel from the moment he leaves his house or leaves the building.
Right.
I have seen Bubba do some heinous things when the cameras weren't even rolling, because that's what he does. But then again, I could say the same. Shane Douglas, Bob Backlund, they're in character the moment they leave the house. It's very old school.
I want to give a quick shout out to one of the local professional wrestlers here in the Midwest, also down in Texas. His name is Moonshine Mantell. Fucking hell of a wrestler, hell of a talent. Shout out to Moonshine. Moonshine was actually at a wrestling show here in Kansas City not that long ago that I attended, and he was a heel that night, and he was in the ring beating the shit out of this guy and making the crowd hate him. And afterwards he was at the merch table, and I walked by him and I went to go put my fist out and was like, hey, good match tonight. And he looked right at me in front of everybody. He said, fuck you, man, you were out here booing me all night, go fuck yourself. And I'm like, walked away, and I said, good for you, you were you keeping kayfabe fucking going, dude. You know what I mean?
I respect that.
Me too. Me too, man. Me too.
Maybe 95.5% of the people, excuse me, going to a wrestling show know it's a show. But for that 4.5% that think it's real, don't take away their illusion.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, to give you an idea, we're going to kind of shift gears here for just a minute. Another question here from the viewership. How did you feel when you heard that Paul E sold ECW? I mean, you had a lot of things here you talked about with the title track and all the musics and the video games and all the things you had done in ECW. How did you feel when you found out that Paul E had sold ECW?
You got to remember one thing. Me and Paul were super tight during ECW. When we weren't on the road and he wasn't editing television, we probably got together every day. And I knew it was coming. There was no way around it. He didn't actually sell ECW. ECW filed for bankruptcy.
Right.
Yep.
Vince McMahon purchased the assets from the bankruptcy court. He didn't buy it from Paul Heyman directly.
Right.
But the writing was on the wall. He was here at my place. We watched Monday Night Raw together. And then he got a phone call from like Shane or Stephanie, and then they went over the show, what he thought was good, what he thought was bad. I remember it was the first time that Edge and Christian did the concerto in a backstage segment. And they offered him a job in creative. And he gets off the phone and goes, well, I guess I'm going to work for WWF for the time being, or WW, whatever it was at the time.
Right.
And I'm like, there's no way to save ECW. He goes, no, there's no way to save it. But he wasn't supposed to be on air. What happened in between then and when he got on TV was Jerry Lawler's girl, the cat, got fired. Jerry Lawler protested it and he quit.
Yep.
So suddenly they had this gap with Jim Ross. They needed a commentator. They needed a color guy. Paul and Jim Ross had worked together before.
Mm-hmm.
So they put Paul on TV. And if you remember, originally he was Paul. He was wearing the ECW hat.
Mm-hmm.
And in his mind, he was hoping to somehow have ECW revived. Excuse me one moment, I'm choking. Sorry, kids. I quit smoking 2.5 years ago. And sometimes when I talk too much, my throat goes dry. If I had a cigarette, I'd be all right. So we use a little cough medicine. Not that I advocate drinking NyQuil on your podcasts. And never drink NyQuil and try and drive. Only drink NyQuil at night. Slug it out of the bottle and don't do drugs unless they're like really, really good and fun.
Well, I mean, as you talk about too, though, Harry, it's the idea of where, like I said, we talk about the HHG purchase and things along the line. And like I said, a lot of people were stunned, but I mean, again, it just happened to be right place, right time. And again, just it's just much like anything with ECW. All the stars seem to kind of align where they needed to. And like I said, we see Paul Heyman make the transition back to WWE television. And again, the end of the ECW era goes. My last question is this. And I mean, again, you have such a storied history with ECW. And I want to, before we go too much further, I want to thank you for sharing what you have thus far. Because, I mean, again, it's a story that definitely needs to be told. I got to ask you. The reboot. I know Paul talked about the idea of seeing ECW be revived. I got to ask your honest opinion of where it is. You're talking earlier about, is it a 1? Is it a 10? I think I know where you're going to go with this. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask, how did you feel when you saw the WWE take all the work that everybody, man and woman, had done for ECW and turn it into what they did?
2 words: Pet Cemetery.
That's a fucking good comparison right there. I never looked at it that way. That's pretty.
Well, like I said,
I had such high hopes, and when I watched the first episode with Timmy Arson as the zombie,
Jesus Christ,
and Kelly Kelly, who couldn't act worth a shit, as the exhibitionist. My father died of cancer about 8 years ago. He watched that episode with me, and I feel like I've always felt like I've owed him 1 hour of his life.
wow.
Did it have good matches? Was it a great springboard for CM Punk and other guys? Yeah. Was it ECW? Not even close.
Nope.
Not even close.
Nope.
I think we're all in agreement on that one. I mean, again, it was one of those where we hoped for the best, and we got nowhere near close to it. Well, like I said, I do have one more thing. It's kind of a Wrestle Talk tradition here.
Mm-hmm.
Every week on the program, we have what's called the world-famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Now, you've mentioned a lot of names, not just ECW, but you've mentioned WWF, you've mentioned WCW, you've mentioned a lot of different wrestling avenues here tonight. What I want to do, and Sonny Money has been begging me for this opportunity, is what the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge is a best-of-3 trivia challenge on a particular topic related to professional wrestling.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you right now, ever since we were able in our meeting to announce that this interview was going to take place, Sonny's like, please, please, please let me have the game show challenge tonight. He has been begging for this opportunity. So, like I said, if you're ready, Harry, Sonny, I know your answer, but I have to ask: are you ready for this?
Sure. As long as I don't have to get naked or anything, I'm down for anything.
No, I don't need you getting naked. No, I don't need that, Harry. But you know what, brother? Before we get the game show challenge going, dude, if you would have told 15-year-old fucking Sonny Mayo sitting in Northeast Philly off Frankfurt Ave, fucking in an apartment watching ECW on fucking Philadelphia local access television, that within the next 20-something fucking years that he'd be doing a wrestling podcast in the middle of America against the guy who did the ECW theme, I wouldn't have fucking believed you at all. It's crazy full circle. Yeah, go ahead.
If you had told, I think, 15-year-old me who went to 12-year-old me, I think, whatever I was, that went to Madison Square Garden to see Dusty Rhodes wrestle Superstar Graham for the WWF heavyweight title and have his hand raised and the belt given to him, even though he didn't win the belt. If you had told that guy that X amount of years later he would be in a locker room with Dusty Rhodes and would produce Dusty's theme music,
fuck yeah,
I would have kicked you in the balls for lying to me.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. And fuck yeah.
I get exactly where you're coming from.
What the song that you created, This Is Extreme. At that moment in time, when that came on fucking 2:00 in the morning on a Friday night, and I'm filled with fucking Mountain Dew and fucking cheesesteaks and shit, and I'm diving off my dad's couch, and he's fucking yelling at me because of that song that you fucking did, bro. My God, that's my fucking childhood right there. So now to be able to sit here 20-something years later and do this game show challenge, Harry, it's a fucking honor. And before we get this game show challenge going, dude, I've said it a million times and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so fucking much for coming on this show with us, man.
I said to you from day one, as long as I'm having fun, and I've been laughing my ass off.
And I hope you did. I hope you did, man. I hope you did. But let's get this game show challenge going, Luke. Why don't you go ahead and get us started, my friend?
Well, we got to take care of a little bit of business first. I know the production crew's been working hard. I hope they're paying attention and doing their jobs. Like I said, we're going strong here on the Wrestle Talk podcast here this evening with Harry Slash and Sonny Money Mayo. Let's go ahead and hit that introduction music for tonight's episode of the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Hold on, we're gonna see if we can get our. Wait a minute.
I think. Has nobody
noticed what I wrote down for my name yet?
Yes.
Oh no, we see it. I've seen that. The idiot that did the music for ECW. Oh yeah, I seen that. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, we just heard that there's going to be a little bit of a technical issue here. I don't know what. Again, technology's great when it cooperates. And
Hey, Luke, before you go on, I know what's going on backstage with these guys. Let me quote Paul Heyman from ECW One Night Stand in 2005. My eyes aren't red. I was just in the back smoking a joint with Van Dam. I think they're fucking back there. Actually, and that's a fucking shoot. Renee, the Night Owl Martinez, the godfather of Wrestle Talk podcast, he actually got some fucking weed for Van Dam when Van Dam was in Kansas City a couple years ago. So, hey, he might have kept a stash out of that. He might have pinched Van Dam's bag. He's back there fucked up. Who knows what's going on? So.
Okay, well,
are we waiting for music?
No,
but fuck it. We're fuck the music, bro.
We're just going to be to that point where we're going to have the music.
I have a dulcimer right here. I could play it in if you guys want.
Well, like I said, we'll go ahead and get things started, even with the technology issue.
What's this thing called?
It is the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. If you want to go ahead and give us an introduction, Harry, by all means.
It's the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. All right, let's
go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have music for tonight's episode. Let me go ahead and get back into announcer mode here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's installment of the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. Our contestants tonight are Harry Slash from Harry Slash and the Slash Tones and ECW fame, and Sonny Money Mayo. Gentlemen, in a few moments, we will have 3 questions based on a professional wrestling topic that was undetermined to both of you prior to tonight's program. As soon as you think you know the answer to the question, go ahead and shout out your answer. The first person to win the best 2 out of 3 falls will win tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Now, in honor of tonight's guest, tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge category is ECW history. I'm going to give you information about 3 individuals who held the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. As soon as you think you know who this individual is, go ahead and shout out your answer. Harry, are you ready?
Yeah.
Sonny, are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, gentlemen, here is question number 1. This individual was the first ECW champion as Eastern Championship wrestler.
Jimmy Snuka.
Harry Slash on the board with the first fall. Didn't even get half the question out. And Sonny Money is already down 1 fall to nothing. Superfly Jimmy Snuka was correct. The remainder of the question was he was the first 2-time ECW champion and also a WWE Hall of Famer.
I did know that. It's just Harry. I just digress. I did fucking know that. Harry just fucking got me on that one. So kudos to you on that, Harry.
Okay.
It's all right. I'm going to give you the next one so we can go Broadway.
Hey, all right, brother.
All right. Question number 2. And
Jimmy
I'm going to warn you. No, it's not Jimmy Snuka again. Sorry. Okay, question number 2. And I'm going to warn you, Harry. I don't know if you want to go Broadway, as you said, on question number 2. This individual was known for having the most ECW heavyweight championship reigns with 5.
Taz.
No. He then moved on to WCW.
Raven.
No. And the WWE.
Sandman.
We gotta go here just a second here. I'm gonna go ahead and wait. Renee's taking care of things here. And Sonny Money takes the second fall. Very good, Sonny. You didn't get swept this week. I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you. I was close though. Fucking Harry almost said it. I think if he would have said Hack instead of Sandman and got it out quicker, I would have been fucked.
Well, I'm on tape delay.
Okay. The third and final fall to determine who's going to win tonight's best 2 out of 3 fall contest. This individual is a former ECW World Heavyweight Champion. He has also held championships in WCW and the WWF.
Raven.
No. He was known for one of the most historic dates
Rob Van Dam.
in ECW history.
Cactus Jack.
No. By throwing down the NWA World
Shane
title.
Douglas.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's winner by a score of 2 falls to 1 is the Wrestle Talk Podcast, Sonny Money Mayo.
Fuck yeah.
It was a word, kids.
Nah, fuck that. That's a shoot, baby. That's a shoot. That's a Paul Heyman.
I looked at the sheet backstage. Your name was underlined.
No, bullshit. Fuck the network. Fuck Cyrus. That's a Paul Heyman on TNN shoot right there, okay? That's a fucking shoot, baby.
Okay. I don't know how much more we can follow with that, but you know something, guys? Tonight's interview has been great. Harry, I got to tell you, Sonny Money, I got to give him props. He's been working on this for weeks now. And first of all, I want to say, much like Sonny, thank you for coming on the program and being here tonight. I mean, again, talking about ECW, and again, you had for years, you had WCW and the WWF, you had the NWA and the WWF. To have that connection with the true ECW and have somebody who had such knowledge and such contribution to the original Extreme Championship Wrestling. Again, I've been very envious of this interview tonight. And again, I got to tell you, I have had a blast. I know Sonny's had a blast. I know that the viewers of the program have been sending tons of messages here. They've been talking about everything under the stars ECW.
I'll answer any other viewer questions if you want. If there's
Well,
any others.
let's see here. I'm going to see if there's anybody else here. If it's got any questions, I'm going to kind of scan through here. Talked about it.
What I think we should do, Harry, on this is one, hopefully we can have you back on the show sometime 2022 or 2023.
Sure.
But also, if you are interested, you could go ahead and drop any social media you got, Harry. And if you want fans to shoot it to you directly, you guys can chat it up. You can probably gain some new fans that way, because I guarantee you, with you being on this podcast tonight, people are going to go back on YouTube and go back and check out some ECW shit and listen to, even if they just pull up Harry Slash and the Slash Tones, they're going to follow that rabbit hole down YouTube.
Yeah.
They're going to find some shit, brother. You know what I mean?
We're going to find some great music, too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're going to find some killer music. So, Harry, why don't you go ahead? Do you got any social media you want to drop if any fans want to get a hold of you?
Well, there's the Facebook one, which is Harry Slash. There's
Okay.
Twitter, which is Harry Slash. There's Instagram, which is Harry Slash. I don't know if it's underscored or dash. I don't freaking remember. I got a SoundCloud page with some newer stuff up there, which is soundcloud.com/Harry Slash or Harry-Slash. I don't know. Fucking Google it. You know.
Harry, you and I think alike, man.
You can get these guys on a website called elcheapogrosso.com. This amazing artist, Alex Boston, and his collaborator, the Extreme Collector, came up with the idea of a Harry Slash pillow buddy, which I thought was ridiculous. And then I got it in the mail and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what I looked like, 25 years ago. That's cool. I don't know if they're even selling these anymore, but they also got t-shirts and hoodies, but I think I owe them money at this point because I ordered a lot of shit for myself. So if you want to help pay my bills, go buy a t-shirt or a pillow buddy. And if you're one of my ex-girlfriends, these make great voodoo dolls. You could stick pins in them. You can set them on fire. You can let your dog hump them. Just buy one. You don't get the pins or the fire. You got to supply those on your own, and you got to bring your own dog. But they make excellent voodoo dolls for all my ex-girlfriends out there, and for a couple of you, well, sorry, you knew what I was about. All right.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, just to clarify, I am joking around with that shit. I was actually a really nice. All right, maybe I wasn't.
Hey, fuck him. Fuck him. Well, Harry, brother, we're going to be ending it here. We're going to be ending the show. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for dropping your socials. And as we do with each and every guest, man, I officially, myself, and this one's probably my favorite one to do so far as a host, I officially want to introduce you and welcome you to the Wrestle Talk podcast family.
Thank you.
I really hope one day that you do come back on the show. We would love to have you back on. Yeah, man. We could sit here for fucking 2 hours. I could ask you about a bunch of ECW shit that we would never get tired of fucking talking about. But I'm also glad that we got to dip in some of your music career too. So again, welcome to the Wrestle Talk podcast family. And that's coming from all of us, including my man Luke Roberts over here. Thank you so damn much, brother. And we'll be in contact as we've been. I'll give you a shout out. Hey man, maybe I'll even make it back when I make it back to Philly here soon. Maybe me and you will link up and we'll go find John F. Kennedy Jr. All right.
Actually, I'm in New York.
Yeah, I know you are. That's right. Hey, I know. Yeah, my dad's dating a girl up there, so it ain't no thing. He'll pick me up and we'll get it going, Harry. But in all seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, Harry Slash of Harry Slash and the Slash Tones, thank you so much for coming on Wrestle Talk podcast.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, brother.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Harry Slash from Harry Slash and the Slash Tones. Right now, I got to tell you, it's been a great show. We're 2.5 hours strong here tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming on the program tonight. I got to tell you, it's been a great program. Once again, we want to thank our great sponsors here of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Again, we're going to get that taken care of here in just a minute. Sonny, this has been awesome. And if this was just 396, we're 4 weeks away from episode 400. I can say this is 396. I am just beyond excited for episode 400. It's coming up in just a couple weeks.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, and I can't wait for it. And, we wouldn't be able to get the 396. We wouldn't even be able to get the 400 without those wonderful sponsors. So shout out to everything. Hey, shout out to everything. Yep. Go ahead, Flywalker. You got it, baby. Go ahead.
Interstate 70 Sports Media, Royals Mills Transportation, Painter's Dream Productions, Rathbun Engraving, Meet Fiesta KC Reynolds, Noble Men's Barber Lounge, Kansas City. Ask for Pete the Barber and the FWWC. I got to tell you right now, Sonny, tonight's program was awesome. And again, kudos to you. Kudos to Harry Slash. Of course, also kudos to the Night Owl. Don't know where he went. I mean, he was here for high spots. Like maybe he had a little bit of a disagreement. He decided he needed to take the rest of the night off. But you know something, Sonny Money and Luke Roberts, we've got this taken care of. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're in the St. Louis area, make it a point. Check out. I'm representing Dynamo Pro this Friday night, Arnold Eagles in Arnold, Missouri. A great night of Dynamo Pro wrestling action. Dynamo Pro Mayhem. You can get your tickets online. It's going to be a great night of pro wrestling action. Also want to thank those that came out for Slams and Jams this past Saturday in Queenie Park. A great night of professional wrestling action. Like I said, we're getting ready. Memorial weekend coming up. I want to say thank you everybody who viewed the program tonight. Make sure you have a great and safe Memorial Day weekend. We're going to be coming back, and you know what's crazy, Sonny? Next week, a 5 Tuesday month. Next Tuesday, we're going to bring back here episode 397. You got any final thoughts tonight?
Man, great show. I'm so happy to have Harry Slash on. I've said it numerous times. 15-year-old me is fucking going bonkers right now. I'm so glad that he got to come on Wrestle Talk podcast and join us. What an honor on doing that. Had a great time with the high spot segment. I had a great time with the shoot and shot. I have a great time every time I get to come on here and host with you, Luke Roberts. You got to talk about the St. Louis side. Over here in the Kansas City side, June 4th, Salina, Kansas, XWE, baby. And the one and only Sonny Money Mayo will be the ring announcer that evening. We got former WWE star Eugene in the house. He will be in the ring. He will be in action. Shout out to everybody over at Central States Wrestling, Kansas City Extreme Wrestling, and Journey Pro. Shout out to all the wonderful promotions here based off the Kansas City area, based in the Kansas side. Much love from all of us over here at the Wrestle Talk podcast. Luke Roberts, it's about to be Memorial Day weekend this upcoming weekend, man. I hope you have a blessed weekend. I hope you and your family are blessed. And thank you so much for being one of the best tag team partners in the podcast game today, man. I couldn't be who I am without you rocking this ones and twos with me. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with you, Sonny. And just to let you know, for those who are paying attention, Sonny, we're going to go with the Sonny Money coffee count. 15 cups of coffee tonight. Luke Roberts' microphone has only been off twice. But you know something? I'm going to kind of channel my inner Harry Slash here as we go ahead and sign off for this week's episode of the Wrestle Talk podcast. And Sonny, I hope you appreciate this. And Harry, I hope I do it justice. This is the Wrestle Talk podcast. See you next week.
Peace.